Hello everyone and welcome back to Nagash channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar, and in this video we'll be continuing my new and updated Slaves to Darkness army series as part of my Age of Sigmar army archive. So now that we know all about the lore in my part 2 video I've recently done, we'll now be diving into the rules of the army itself. And to start with, we are going to have a look at the allegiance abilities in this video, and then hopefully also the sub-allegiances with everything they have, depending on how time gets on, but we should be able to get that done. So what we're going to do throughout this video is, as you can see, there will be photos on the screen that I've taken, which apologies if you can't see all the text right, but it was literally just taking pictures of my iPhone. But we'll be reading through all the rules that there are to be of it. So joining me in this video, I am also going to have Jamie, who joined me for the Blades of Corn video and the IDNF Deepkin video for those Y plays, and he is also a absolute fan with Slave to Darkness as much as I am. So how are you doing today, Jamie?
Holding up very well, thank you very much. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Even better to be talking about Slaves to Darkness. I've recently paid up a Chaos Chariot, so I'm very pumped to do this. But anyway, so let us start. So we're going to firstly look at the Damned Legions, which are the sub-legions for this army. And it says, after you have chosen the Slaves to Darkness allegiance for your army, you must choose a Damned Legion keyword from the list below. All Slaves to Darkness units in your army gain the keyword, and you can use that Damned Legion's allegiance abilities in addition to the Slaves to Darkness allegiance abilities. And the four we have to choose from are the Ravagers, the Cannibals. How we pronounce that one, Jamie?
I think it's like Cabalist.
The Cabalist, that makes sense. Yep, I'll go with that one. The Despoilers, and then the host of the Everchosen. So first thing to mention here is that these are sub-allegiances that you can't go, I might take them, but I might make my... No, you have to take a sub-allegiance. There are other ones you can look at in the Wrath the Everchosen book, but that's something we'll get to in another time. So those are the four from the Slaves to Darkness Battle Tome. You have to go for one of those. It's a little bit like Legions to Nagash, where you have to pick one of the legions to make it work. There's no generic command traits and artifacts, etc. It then says, if a unit already has the Damned Legion keyword on its war scroll different to one you choose, it cannot gain an other. You can still include that unit in your army, but you cannot use the allegiance abilities for this Damned Legion. So that's something that we've seen quite a few times. If, for example, if you look at Stormcast, there's a lot of named characters with a Hammer of Sigmar keyword already, so you can't put them in Hallowed Knights or something. And then
It's funny enough that I don't think there is actually anyone at the moment who has that one special thing there, unless they plan on having something else.
no, without... There's probably going to be an example now.
Unless there's anyone from Forge World, maybe they
Yeah.
might have something.
Or like it might be one of like the war bands from what do you call it, Warcry or Warhammer Underworlds. You know, there might be like an odd example, but it's good to have it covered here to save them having to do an FAQ, I suppose. And then the first of the real sort of proper abilities that we're going to see is going to be the Aura of Chaos. So this is a big part of how the Slaves to Darkness play, and what it is each Slaves to Darkness hero in a Slaves to Darkness army has one of the following Aura of Chaos abilities. The Aura of Chaos, the Aura of Chaos a hero has is determined by the Mark of Chaos keyword. So we've got Khorne heroes have the Aura of the Khorne, Tzeentch heroes have Aura of Tzeentch, Nurgle heroes have the Aura of Nurgle, and Slaanesh heroes have the Aura of Slaanesh. So I was just very, very excited to get onto Slaanesh. And then we have Undivided heroes have the Aura of Chaos Undivided, and then we can see we're going to go into rules that reflect what keyword they have. So there are 5 to go for, so we have one for each of the gods and then one for Undivided. And before we go into our first one, it says if you do select a unit with more than one Mark of Chaos keyword to be part of your army, you just pick which one will apply to that unit for the duration of the battle. A prime example of this is Archaon. He has the
Yeah.
has all his keywords. I think it would have been cool if he could just be that massive 800 points centerpiece to just be really powerful, but I can understand why they've reined it in a bit as well.
Yeah, when you get onto the abilities, it would be cool if he could have the radius of all of them, but it probably would make him maybe a little bit OP.
Yeah, they've played it a bit safe here. They have also done an FAQ, so that does mean that because he's got the keyword, if there was and let's say you've made him Nurgle for the purposes of your game, and then you have a Slanesh hero in your army with their aura ability. Would Archaon benefit from the other heroes' aura ability because he's got the Slanesh keyword? Nope, he just simply only gets the one you select here. So it's quite simple. And with that, our first one is going to be Aura of Khorne. So, Jamie, do you want to take us through this one? As I know, Khorne is definitely your side of things.
Yeah, this is like one of the whole main reasons I'm playing my Slaves of Darkness is to mix it with my Khorne army from the Plains of Khorne. So the Aura of Khorne, you can reroll hit rolls of 1, very standard for your Khorne. For melee weapons, by friendly Slaves of Darkness Khorne units wholly within 12 inches of the hero. In addition, if the model is your general, add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks made by melee weapons for your units wholly within 12 inches. The one thing what you see different now, what I think they used to have, is you're getting 2 abilities. You get a nice standard one for just your bog standard heroes, and then you're getting a nice one, a bonus one, if it's your general. Your general gives off a bonus ability. Add 1 to wound is brilliant.
It's great, and this army, apart from a couple exceptions, isn't really an army that is what hits on 5s and wounds on 5s. You're already looking at 4s and 3s anyway, so it is very much going to help. And I completely agree with you. It's nice that you get 2 different abilities, because if you take away like the second part of the paragraph and it's just say you get the 1 ability, you read it and you go, yeah, that's all right, that's good, but it doesn't really grab your, for me, it doesn't really grab my attention or make me go, oh, that's really cool. But then as soon as you add like the stacking ability, if it's also your general, it's like, wow, yeah, you can suddenly make things reroll hit rolls of 1 and add 1 to wound rolls. That's pretty cool. Something good to mention here as well is that when your general dies in battle, you are actually meant to select another hero to be your general halfway through the game. So don't think when your general guy dies you're missing out on the second part of the ability. You can still get it.
And a good thing now with the Aura of Chaos, it does mean that what I love about this like Command Allegiance ability is that you can actually build your army as a mixed Chaos force and have them in their own little groups if that's like the way you want to play.
Yeah, there's you can definitely do it so you build certain parts of your army going, right, these guys are here for defense, these guys are here for offense, these guys are here for speed. You can really build different parts of your army to do that. And of course you can do it as much as you like. For example, Jamie's army's painted as Khorne, my army's painted as Slanesh. Of course I'm going to thematically like to play them as Slanesh, and Jamie would like to do the same with Khorne. But there's no reason why Jamie couldn't use his Khorne army as a Undivided or a Nurgle force, or me use my Slanesh army as a Zeech force. But if you want to go loads into customization, you can make this unit of Chaos Knights, give them the Nurgle keyword, but then you really go to town on the hobby side of things and really make them look Nurgle-ish. So you can have these cool little like themed cinematic parts of your army that I think make the Slaves of Darkness feel a little bit unique in that aspect, rather than the standard what we've got used to in Age of Sigmar over the last 5 years, which is like, what, Chaos? Simply, you're divided by whatever god you are. There's no mixing. That's it. So I think that is a good point you were making there, Jamie.
Yeah, it does. I want to touch on with getting into these auras. So we're going to the Zeech one. So Zeech, you can reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target a friendly Slaves of Darkness Zeech unit wholly within 12 inches of a hero with a Zeech mark. In addition, again, you get another addition 1 with your general of as you'll get with all of them. Units wholly within 12 inches of your general, if they are affected by a spell, you can roll a dice, and on a 5-up they ignore the spell effects. Very niche, that bit, I suppose, but I suppose there is a lot of magic at the moment.
Yeah, there is. This will be something that obviously, well, you can say with a lot of abilities to be fair, but the Khorne one's a pretty good standard one. But a lot of these abilities, they fluctuate with whatever the standard meta is, and obviously this is being recorded during 2020, so with the world right now there's not so many games being played unless you're in New Zealand. So but what we can gather is that magic is it's always been important in Age of Sigmar, but it's becoming very prominent with all these armies coming out, like Technic's army with the what's it called? Idoneth Deacon, but the Lumineth Realm
the
Lords.
Lumineth Realm Lords.
The first children of his that we do not talk about. So is his new favoured sons, the Faramir and Boromir situation. So Boromir's army, they're very much focused on magic. So we've got the Lumineth Realm Lords, we've got Nagash, we've got Arkham, we've got the Lord Croak. That's a big thing going on right now. We've got there's probably other examples. Zeech obviously is a big one. And ignoring spells, even if you're one of those people who, when you read something, you go, it happens on a 5-up, and you go, oh, you know what? It doesn't seem tempting enough to go for. A 5-up is good. That's a third every time you'll be doing this. You ignore. And all I can say is, someone who has regularly ran a Nagash and has tried to do hands on dust of things, and I'm like, this is my just go-to kill them option, my nuclear button, and then the opponent goes, yeah, I ignore that on a 5-up or something, and they just roll a dice and they get a 5. It's like, done. It's like Nagash could be the best spellcaster in the entire game, but he can't do anything to that unit he needs to wipe out. So it can be useful, and then with reroll save rolls of 1,
it's always helpful, isn't it?
It's always helpful, and I know some people may go like, well, it's just the Mystic Shield, isn't it? Well, it is, but it saves you having to cast the Mystic Shield. So it is helpful, and you can tell that this is the defensive one to go for with the Zeech of what we've read so far. And it's one that I would say that I hadn't commonly seen used on the internet, so it could be quite an interesting one to try out.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the least one I've seen around, or the least one mentioned out of the 4, or out of the 5 even. Yeah. You go on to Nurgle, and this was one that got a lot of hype at the beginning. If an unmodified wound roll for an attack made with a mini weapon by a Slave to Darkness within the range of your hero is a 6, add 1 to the damage inflicted by that attack. Brilliant. In addition, if this model is a general, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target Slave to Darkness Nurgle units hold within 12 inches of this model. So you're getting 2 things there. You're getting damage, and if you're in range of your general, you're getting survivability from range attacks.
Yeah, it's it really is quite solid. I mean, for me, I'm not. It's more of an aesthetic thing, but I'm not a massive Nurgle fan. However, every time you get a 6 to wound and an extra damage, I know from when we've actually had a game ourselves, and I think you charged me the Nurgle Knights, and it might have been on camera when we did like a quick live battle report, I can't remember, but I think you rolled 7. Did you roll 9 dice for your wounding with your Chaos Knights after they charge? They're doing 2 damage anyway. And you got like 7 6s out of 9 dice or something. Was there something like that?
Yeah, that's ringing the bell now. Yeah,
and that is probably the best example, without you getting all of them, that could happen in a realistic situation. And that was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. And your knights are doing what, -2 end damage free. So yeah.
Even when you first think, standard units that do 1 damage, if you get a 6 and a few 6s, or something that can throw out a lot of attacks, a couple of 6s in there turn into 2 damage, just bumps up the killing power of that unit.
Absolutely, and there's plenty of ways to get rerolls to hit and to wound to help you
And then
get to
you
that
got,
point.
if you're hugging the general of your Nurgle army, -1 to hit against missile weapons, your opponent are missing you more as you march up the table.
Yeah, and something to also mention, just in case it's not clear, is that your heroes with the marks and your general in particular, they will benefit from all this because they'll always be within range of themselves. So your general here so just your heroes here. No, sorry, I'm just trying to remember. It's your general that does the -1 to hit rolls from shooting. So if you make sure that your general is on foot and not on a monster or something, can you make sure he benefits from the lookout sir rule? He's -2 to hit, just standard.
Yeah, or my kind of thing was, if your general is your biggest model, then he gives out a bigger radius,
Mm.
so you can maybe protect a lot more of your army.
Yeah, there's that as well to it, which is which just shows like the different sort of depths you can go with that. But no, so you can see why the Aura of Nurgle is particularly good. And then going on to the next one, which is Aura Slanesh, which is my favourite god. And what it says is, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by a friendly Slays of Darkness Slanesh unit, wholly within 12 inches of this model, is a 6, that attack scores 2 hits on the target instead of 1. Make a wound roll and a save roll for each hit. In addition, if this model is a general, you can reroll run and charge rolls for friendly Slanesh Slays of Darkness units wholly within 12 inches of this model. So we can already see that this one is, if you're going heavy, making sure everything's in range of the general, this is the one to make your guys as fast as possible. It's really going to help getting things like your knights into charge without having to spend command points to reroll charges. Anything else that's particularly fast for that, chariots as well. But what I really like about this is it just puts you in the game of exploding sixes, which it seems like every single book now almost has a way to be able to do that. So, and that can be really, really good. I mean, a prime example was that even I remember attacking with my Slanesh Demon Prince, and by just being lucky and rolling like with its sword and getting 2 hit rolls of a 6, boom, it's made 4 wound rolls to make with that now. It can be really good, and it can be. I found something that came up a lot, and wasn't like one of those abilities that it might go off. It went off every time something attacked. Especially if you did like a big block of Chaos Warriors or something like that, you're rolling so many dice, you're gonna get so many explosions with that. Do you have any?
It also helps with the kind of weapons or people with abilities that, say you hit on a 6 as well, and it's 1 mortal wound, but the attack sequence ends. You still got the other hit that's gone through.
Yeah, it does.
So then you're not losing kind of like the attack. Although you get a good mortal wound out of it, you also then get your opponent to do a save as well. Well, you get to do a wound, and if that goes through, they've got another save as well.
Yeah.
I think things that do like straight up say like 2 mortal wounds. I think the Demon Prince is one. You're not then losing their freeze to wound and -2 rend, 2 damage as well. It's probably maybe the second strongest after like Nurgle.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's the strongest, but I'm just saying I quite like its playstyle, especially how I think in the few games we had, the way how I ran it was took it in. I think it's Despoilers, the sub allegiance. Yeah, Despoilers with the Demon Princes, and essentially with your Demon Prince being the general, your aura then goes to 18 inches. So then that was having your general in the center, and most of your army was obviously benefiting from the exploding sixes, but also was now re-rolling its charges.
Yeah, which is just and the run as well.
Yeah, which is huge, especially when there's some things out there that can run and charge. And I mean, for let's say you've got 4 units that want to make a charge, you've saved yourself 4 command points. Right? It's depending on your playstyle. I particularly liked how it worked, which I enjoyed. And then, with the last one, it's going to be the Aura of Chaos Undivided, which is do not take Battleshock tests for friendly Slaves of Darkness Undivided units wholly within 12 inches of this model. In addition, if this model is a general, roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly Slaves of Darkness Undivided unit wholly within 12 inches of the model. On a 6, that wound or mortal wound is negated. So I think, and I don't want to put a downer with the Undivided stuff, but I would say the Undivided stuff is probably the weakest mark you can generally give your guys in this book. I don't know how you feel with that one, Jamie.
I personally feel like it kind of edges you towards a certain play style. Oh, do not take Battleship tests is always, I think it's undervalued. But at the same time, it's more for your horde. And obviously, if you want to save your command points for other things, the 6-up ignore damage. You run a death army. It's useful.
It's useful.
It can come in clutch from killing a hero or the right number of models to lose an objective. It can come in clutch. I do feel like it edges you towards maybe running a bit more of a horde army,
and
which, if that's your play style, then I think that could be the one for you.
Yeah, we know. We'll get onto this in another video when we review the units, but we understand that Marauders are a big part of this army, and the way of how to make Marauders automatically charge a huge distance is big. But we will cover that. But I'll just say on the outset, that's nothing I'd be interested in playing, to be honest. Chaos Warriors for days, they look a lot cooler. But what I will say with the Aura of Chaos Undivided, the Battleship test, it is sort of overlooked the importance of it, but the way I find it, it's not the importance of automatically passing the Battleship test is not coming up as much of the times where with Khorne I'm re-rolling my hit rolls of 1, or or save rolls of 1, or the re-roll and charge, or Nurgle of -1 from shooting, or the extra damage.
If you look at it as a competitive view, I don't feel like, I'll agree with you, I don't feel like their abilities will come up as much as how much you'll use some of the other gods. Obviously, depending on your army and obviously your local scene. But it's not, someone who has a Zeech, Slaves of Darkness. If your local scene is all using magic against you, then it's brilliant. But if you're playing in our kind of scene where we got people who play dwarves and maybe the new giants, you're not going to have a lot of magic against you. So you're losing an ability there because no one's going to throw magic against you.
Yeah, I think that's very true. The only other thing I want to say with the Aura of Undivided, since this book has came out, it has got slightly worse just because you can only benefit from 1 ward save now, so you can only benefit from 1 what I call a death save. So, for example, the 6-up save you get against wound or mortal wounds to be negated, if you have a Chaos War Shrine within range, you will not get both saves. If you're a Chaos Warrior who's taken a mortal wound, you have to choose between the Chaos Warrior's shield of a 5-up save or this save of a 6-up. So it has taken a hit.
Yeah, with those kind of rules, you then still think this still then maybe leads to a more order kind of heavy army.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it protects your heroes as well there.
It does, because sort of if I think about my Slaves Darkness heroes, I think, well, a lot of them have got mortal wound saves. To be honest, a lot of them don't. So especially the ones that are supportive, but can die easily. So it is important for them to have that inherent button save. And like you were saying, Jamie, about whatever your local armies you happen to fight, what's your local meta with your friends and everything. Every time I look at building an army, I look at it going like, well, how well is this going to do in a tournament? Right. When I'm very focused on going to tournaments, if the world wasn't in the situation it is at the moment, maybe go to 2 tournaments a year. So that's roughly 10 tournament games a year at the most, whereas I would probably play about, I don't know, up to 30 local games. So are you wanting to sacrifice everything for those really competitive games at the tournament, or the countless other games you do locally? So something that I find is that I focus too much on, I don't want to build this, or I don't want to go down this route if it's not going to be takeable to a tournament. Just take what you're going to be using most of the time, which is against local people. You don't need to have like the super competitive
what you're
cap
going
on
to
all
have
the
fun
time.
with. It's what you're going to have fun with as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to have fun in your games.
Well, it's like I said about the again, we'll talk about this in our video, but like the Marauder build, for example. I know that's very popular. I know Marauders are very good, but I have no interest in running them because I think Chaos Warriors look cooler. My idea of Slaves of Darkness is that they are heavily armored, warriors of chaos. But yeah. Anyway, so moving on. What I want to just say quickly before we get off the Legion Spiritus is that, just in case for anyone, I presume pretty much everyone knows this, but if you are very new to Slaves of Darkness, if you're wondering like, well, how are my Slaves of Darkness units got the Khorne keywords? They're not Blades of Khorne. Right, so with most Slaves of Darkness units, when you set them up on the battlefield or when you come up with your army list, you give them a dedicated mark to whichever one it says they can have on their war scroll. So that's how you give them these keywords. So don't worry about that. Anything else you want to say about the battle trait Bane of the Mortal Realms, which is the Aura of Chaos stuff?
No, I think it's a big improvement from what they did have, and I do like I like all the abilities and the bonus ability what your general gives off. It does make your general more important, but I think they're all good, and I think they're all easily playable. You can have fun with all of them in how you build your armies. Obviously, some, like we said, some of them you get a bit more use out of, but it all comes down to how you play and how you want to build up your fun army. If you're not enjoying playing it, then you can just change the marks up, and that's what I really love. You can change the mark up to the next game and have a completely different game with the exact same army.
Absolutely, and it's one of those armies that you can do that inherently in this book. Just change it the marks. You got that. Go into the different sub-allegiances, which we'll get to shortly, and you've already got a completely different playstyle. And the other thing, even beyond that, is that you can just go, right, I want to buy a book. I'm going to buy, I don't know, He Knights of Nesh. I can now take my army into a completely different book. This army is probably there might be another one out there, but for me, the one army that is the most valued for money in terms of how many different ways you can play it. I know I recently said this with Beasts of Chaos, but you had to take them in certain battalions to make them fit into different legions. These ones just boom straight out. Only a couple of things like, I don't know, a Chaos Sorcerer Lord can't go in a Khorne army without him being an ally, because Khorne isn't like wizards. There's so many different ways to run this army.
Yeah, and that's what I used to do before. At first it was my Slaves of Darkness, joining my Blades of Khorne. And now, if anything, if I was to build a mixed army, it's going to be mainly Slaves of Darkness. With maybe a few Khorne heroes thrown in to give me a few of the little bonuses that I want from them. But Slaves of Darkness now, for me, I've gone a bit stronger.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's good. So what we're going to look at next is going to be the next part of their lineage abilities, which is Eye of the Gods. So this, what I will firstly say, is that we mentioned the Eye of the Gods, which is basically the path to glory that I talked about in the lore video, and it's coming down to how the Chaos Champions try and catch the Eye of the Gods to try and get gifts and boons and mutations to help them forward. And what I will say about this whole page of rules is that it's not always going to happen. You got to try and remember so you don't forget when it does happen. And I love this set of rules. Probably one of my favourite set of rules in this entire book, because it's just so damn narratively cool. I just want to say that before we'll move on to it. So the Eye of the Gods, what does it do? So at the end of the combat phase, if any attacks made by friendly Slaves of Darkness heroes that have the Eye of the God keyword destroyed any enemy heroes or monsters, in that phase you can make one roll on the Eye of the Gods table below for friendly hero. And then it says rewards gained by rolling on the table apply for the rest of the battle. Duplicate rewards are treated as the snub by the gods instead, which just means it doesn't stack. They don't get double the ability. So what I will say is I think me and Jamie don't need to read through this, because essentially if your hero kills something in the combat phase, that thing being a hero or a monster, and they have the Eye of the God keyword on their war scroll. I don't think they all do, like a Demon Prince doesn't, as an example. An example what does is a Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount, Carcatrak, Manticore, Chaos Sorcerer Lord, those sorts of things. If they kill something, you roll 2 dice and they will be affected by whatever result you have rolled on the table. Some of them are like add 1 to their save. Some of them are like you spawn a like demon infantry minimum size unit. Some of them are like they get a mortal wound save.
Well, you might as well just quickly 2d6. So let's go through them.
Do you want to go through? Okay, it's one of those things that it doesn't happen all the time.
The first thing to say
and
is
there's no customization.
It's the combat. It's the combat phase.
Yeah.
So it's got to be in combat. You can't kill a hero with a spell or an effect. It's got to be in the combat phase. So that kind of limits. I wouldn't say limits, because we've all played games where measly warrior, measly wizard have killed someone.
Well, example is my necromancer killing your magical Lord of Khorne.
Yeah, the thing, once in a million things like that.
Yeah, when it does, remember the rule, when it does happen.
Yeah, but like you say, it's a very narrative kind of thing. The abilities are good, and we'll quickly go through them. But I wouldn't expect it to be happening in every game unless you've built one of your heroes to be an absolute hero killer. But again, so you roll 2d6, you get a reward. 2, your character turns into a spawn as the gods snub him. Now this is an actual negative for rolling those double ones.
Yes, this is the whole thing. Like, this warrior has been given too much mutations from the gods, and just his mind snaps. Or, as I found out when I was reading through all the lore, the Slaves of Darkness, sometimes the gods just do it as a laugh. So yeah, this is where your guy can turn into a chaos spawn. So essentially, your hero's dead. You remove him. You put a chaos spawn where he was. But if you
the good thing is that if you don't have a chaos spawn, or you don't really want to be a chaos spawn, you can just take D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, like, I can see why tactically you would take the D3 mortal wounds sometimes, but I can also see why tactically you would put the spawn there instead, because it's still an extra, I think, a 5 wound model you're adding to the board.
Yeah. So you got 3 improved Ren characteristic for one of the hero's weapons by 1. Good.
That's pretty good.
You got 4, add 1 to one of the attacks of one of your weapons. Not bad. You got +1 save for your hero.
Pretty good.
Good. And then you got each time this hero suffers an effect from a spell or in the spell, roll a dice on a 4 up, he ignores it.
That's just so when he's in his Zeech army, he can look at all his fellow comrades and tell them that he's one better than the rest of them.
Just ups him up a bit. 7, nothing happens. The god's just, yeah, so what?
Bored, wasn't that impressive?
You didn't even do nothing.
Do it again! There are no more heroes, I don't care.
Then 8, you got, each time you allocate a wound to your hero, a wound or mortal wound, on a 5 up, you negate it.
Yep.
Then 9 or 10, you get to add a unit to your army which has the same mark as your hero. So if your Khorne hero has killed a hero and you roll a 9 or 10, you get to set up 10 Khorne bloodletters. For Nurgle, you get 10 Plague Bearers. For Slaanesh, 10 Demonettes. Each 10 Pink Horrors. And for Undivided, 6 Furies.
So this is where, if you're a Zeech player, you go, yes. Because I think
10 Pink Horrors turn into something Blue Horrors, turn into something Brimstones.
we'll be honest, 10 Pink Horrors is what? 1 Pink Horror turns to 2 blue, doesn't it? So what's that? 50 models? Is that no, no, it's not 50, is it? 40.
It's 10 to 20 to
40, isn't it? Because that's 10, and then each one of those 20 blue horrors would turn into a brimstone, right?
yeah, I
So
think so.
that's
Yeah.
2 20s and 1. Yes, that should be maths. I'm sure we'll be told if it's not. Well, and I'll be honest, like, I'm still 100% sure if that would work in this scenario in Slaves Darkness, but I didn't see anything about that on the FAQ, so I think it does. But for maths,
But it's very niche to your
very
god.
niche.
So
And what I
if
like,
you're playing a full Khorne army, then it's bloodlettered. You can't choose. It's wherever mark your hero is.
yeah, and I think they've all got their strengths as well. Each one of those.
But then
demon
just adding 10 models to your army, because they get set up wholly within 12 of this hero and more than 9 inches from the enemy. But then I suppose you'd have to look on the FAQ whether then you get them if your hero is kind of like surrounded. So that would be the interesting kind of thing.
I don't think you would.
No, because you wouldn't be able to set them up.
Yeah,
But then last one, 11 or 12, your hero turns into a demon prince.
Yes, he has finally achieved the end of his path to glory, and now has entered into demonhood, which is the best one by far, which is cool.
Depending on what stage your hero might be at, but it can definitely be really fun if you've just got a measly little, like the cheapest chaos hero.
An exalted hero, I reckon, is probably the cheapest, isn't it?
And he just somehow gets that sneaky backstabbing one, takes the last wound off of your enemy hero, and he turns into a demon prince. Oh, you're going in for the win.
Oh, you're loving it.
And you'll just be laughing. It does say there, obviously, the hero, wherever mark he is, he turns into that kind of demon prince.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he is undivided, in which then he can actually choose one of the following keywords.
Yeah, because in
of Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, or Zeech.
Because in this battle tome, I think one of the things it did take away from the demon prince, it certainly gave it a shitload of stuff, but I think what it took away was the being able to make it undivided, which I think made it Feaster of Souls and it could heal wounds or something. So you now have to pick a keyword, but that's fine. It was that god that gave it demonhood. Fair enough. And then if
it was a prince, it says that he keeps his command traits and artifacts of power.
Yeah. Which is
and if your little sorcerer turns into a demon prince, then he still stays as a wizard.
Which is good. I think he can only
he keeps his unbind and casting abilities.
And knows the same spells. Yes, that's.
So your little sorcerer lord can just hulk up, as you can say.
Yeah, he can
just gets angry, turns into Incredible Hulk, and then is happy to smash face while casting spells.
Yeah, I mean, like, why not? And like, that's a good example as well because although him being like a tiny little weak one, then becoming a demon, the other thing with that is that the reason I'd take that Chaos Lord and Sorcerer Lord is because um, Chaos Sorcerer Lord is because he's got an amazing spell. And if I was going to turn him to a Demon Prince, there may be a part of me going, "Oh, do I really want to lose that spell?" But he gets it anyway, and now he can move close to the enemy because he's not a little shrimp. So that's
And then
good.
the last thing to say about that, if you don't have a Demon Prince to do that with, you can heal up to D3 wounds for your hero.
Yeah, it's which
Which
is
it's still something that if you don't have.
yeah, it's like the opposite of the Spawndom. I can just imagine, I don't know, like a Chaos Lord Demonic Mount slays an enemy hero and is greeted by Spawndom for the rest of his life, and then you have one little Sorcerer Lord who just gets his little staff out and just stabs someone in the back and kill them, and is turned into a Demon Prince. And it's just like,
The gods can be fickle.
the gods can be very fickle. So yeah, so I think actually yeah, it was nice that we went through it. But as you can see, it's very random, but it's cool. They haven't made it too restricted because they're like, if you're lucky enough to get an ability, if you're even lucky enough to get another ability, it all stacks unless it's the same one. So if you have one hero that goes around killing everything, he could be quite cool. But
Oh yeah, 6 abilities on there would be pretty cool.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure before anyone's asking, I'm pretty sure I imagine Archaon does not have the Eye of the Gods keyword, as he is, the prime
He is
example.
already the highest
He
title that you can have.
he's already been offered and he's turned it down. He's going for he's gunning for what's it, Godom? No, not Godom. What's the word? Ascension to godhood. That's it. So yeah, that's his goal. Okay, so that is the last part of like the battle trait. The next thing to go through quickly is just the spell laws while we're here. So the Slaves of Darkness, like a lot of the battle tomes, have access to spells, and they have a list of 6 to choose from the Law of the Damned. So there are 3 here that I particularly like, Jamie. Do you want to go through them all, or do you just want to sort of highlight the ones that you like?
Well, the ones there's definitely some standout ones, isn't there?
Hmm. So
If you
we'll go
go
through them all.
through
We'll
one
go
of
through them all.
your yeah, the ones that we think are more meh. You just say what they do, and then it's like, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, so like the first one is Binding Damnation. So what I will quickly say, I'll read the top just so everyone knows. So you can choose or roll 1 spell from the following table for each Slaves to Darkness wizard in a Slaves to Darkness army. So that's how you get them. And then the first one, Binding Damnation, has casting value 7. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster and is visible to them until your next hero phase. That unit fight at the end of the combat phase. And that's one of the 3 ones I was going to highlight. I'm sure you were going to do the same. That's a very
It's a very standout kind of one.
in this activation wars that we're in Age of Sigmar, this is a key role to have a play in it.
Yeah, to be able to stand a chance in certain armies, or give your units a bit more of a chance, making an enemy unit fight last is brilliant.
Yeah, particularly in an army where you already have units such as the Demon Prince that will attack first anyway, so you can really stack it nicely. The next one is Spike-Tongued Curse. So Spike-Tongued Curse, casting value of 3. You successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster and is visible to them. That unit suffers 3 mortal wounds, but if the casting roll is unsuccessful or the spell is unbound, the caster suffers 3 mortal wounds. So I think this is a little bit of a kamikaze one. It's a bit too risky for me because you may go casting value 3, easy. The enemy can unbind you, which is yeah. So for me, it's not one because there are also better spells to take from this law.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's better spells to take. If someone could know all the spells, then you probably would use it because it's a bit more guaranteed of an arcane bolt.
It's a shame Archaon doesn't know all the spells. Just putting it out there. It's a shame he doesn't have access to all of them in the law.
But yeah, I'll agree with you. Unless I'm stacking loads of wizards, in my army, I, I wouldn't really take this.
This is at least the fourth spell I'm picking, like in order, like it's fourth important. So the next one though, which I believe is one of the ones that I do like, Whispers of Chaos. So it has a casting value of 7. On successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster, and is visible to them. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in that unit. For each 6 that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If any models from that unit are slain by this spell, that unit cannot move until the start of your next hero phase. Okay, if you're using this against a 1 wound model, essentially you're just going for a very high cast and arcane bolt. But if you use this against multi-model units, everything else, particularly horde unit, if you use this against a horde unit, you're going to kill one of them at least, and now that unit can't move.
Yeah, I think that's the main bit I mainly love.
Oh, it's not
It's
about
the
the
fact
mortal
of-
wounds, yeah, it's about the...
It's the fact that they can't move until your next hero phase, and then you can have a bit more power. Say if you win the roll off for the next turn, you know that unit's not moving, and you might want to then maybe strategically give your opponent the next turn because you know they can't do nothing with that unit for that turn. It just gives a bit more, maybe a flexibility on knowing, at least knowing what a certain unit might not be doing. And again, you got 40, a block of 40 clan rats or something like that. You roll 40 dice, you're going to kill quite a few of them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what I like about this, it's not like roll for each model that is within so much range of the wizard. It's just whatever's in the unit. And what I would say as well about this spell is when it comes to the enemy cannot move, does that mean they can't make piling moves? If I'm completely honest, I don't know. I would see this as they can't make piling moves because they just simply can't move. I couldn't see it anywhere questioned in an FAQ for the Slaves of Darkness. So to be honest, I'm just going to say it means they can't pile as well.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that because, as you say, it's a pile-in move.
Yeah, is it?
And
what, in the same way you
there,
wouldn't charge with it. You wouldn't
No.
say this unit could charge. At the end of the day, it's been trapped still because of the Whispers of Chaos. It's not like, oh, it's the combat phase. Yeah, I can't hear the Whispers anymore. Yeah, we'll move a little bit forwards. It's not. It doesn't make any sense. So the next one is again one of our favourites. Without even going into what it does, I can just tell by the name, Mask of Darkness. So Mask of Darkness is the casting value 7. You successfully cast, pick one friendly mortal Slaves of Darkness unit wholly within 12 inches of the caster and is visible to them. Remove that unit from the battlefield and then set it up again anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches from any enemy units. That unit cannot move in the following movement phase. I think me and you both know why this is good, but do you want to take us through why it is important?
Well, being able to teleport anywhere on the battlefield for objectives is a standout spell. The one thing you do have to take note from it is it's mortal Slaves of Darkness units. So you cannot teleport anyone who's a demon. So your Demon Prince, and I'm pretty sure the Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount is a demon as well.
But if they've got
Then he is immortal, so
if they've got the
actually you can
mortal
tell him.
keyword, they can.
It's only pretty much you can't be teleporting your old trusty Demon Princes around.
Has he got the mortal keyword, or is he demon?
Is that the?
Because I think he used the Demon Prince. I think he used to have the mortal back before the battle time.
I think he's a straight up demon now. Yep, Chaos Demon. So Darkness Hero, Mark Chaos, Demon Prince.
Fair enough. You can't teleport him around. But you can get most things in the army. If you go, well, you can't get your allied demons in. Well,
yeah.
At the end of the day, they're not Slaves of Darkness, so it wouldn't really matter. This is, as much as I said it's important to get an in on the activation wars, it's also important to have a teleporting trick up your sleeve.
You got even just for quick outmaneuvering, you've got your big block of 40 marauders, and you've got your little wizard sitting in the middle of them, and he just teleports them 9 inches from the enemy. They are going to get the charge.
Yeah, they can probably auto charge that with how it works. So
Or even like with certain quick maneuvers with your knights. Knights, they're fast, but they're not as fast as other things out there. Plopping them straight in front of 9 inches away from the enemy. They've got a horn, so I think they get to add one.
yeah, they add one to their charge. They add one to their charge. There may also, where you've teleported them, there may also be one of your heroes nearby to that area. He may be Slanesh, he may be your general, I think, at that point. So now that they're rerolling their charge, there's lots of ways you can do it. Me and you had a game against my Bone Reapers a while ago, didn't we? Where I think it was very tight right until the end because Petra Elite back then was not very fun to play against, but it got very close to the end, and one of your only plays to win was by teleporting something.
Yeah, and this spell is definitely like that standout spell because it can come in clutch often.
Yeah.
Or isn't always a useful tactic. Casting value 7 can be quite high, but as you go in through the other allegiances, the sub-allegiances, there is ways to help.
There are. So with that, let us go on to the next spell, number 5, which is Call to Glory. So Call to Glory has casting value 5. If successfully cast, pick one friendly Slaves of Darkness hero wholly within 12 inches of the caster and is visible to them. You can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks made by that hero if the target is a hero or monster until your next hero phase. Bring on the Heed Knights of Slanesh army, bring on Fleshier Courts, and bring on the new Gargants. I think this spell is useful for that. If you chuck this on Archaon, that's good, but for me anyway, if I was looking, not knowing what army I was fighting against, it's a bit too abstract. It's a bit too. You can't guarantee how useful it would be because you don't. If the enemy's got very hero and monster heavy, it's useful. But if not, it's not much point to it.
No, and when it's a wizard who's casting it, you got to keep him close to your damage dealing hero. Again, obviously, Archaon can take this. Probably Archaon's probably the best one to probably maybe have this.
Yep.
Because of the fact that he can just cast it on himself and then go and wreck face against opponents, heroes and monsters, and that's where you kind of want him. Outside of that,
That's probably the best play, yeah.
You're still looking at the others. I'd say, yeah, Archaon is probably the only one I'd consider using this on.
Because I don't think Archaon gets his own spells, does he?
Um,
I don't think he does, which is a massive shame because he doesn't have access to all of these and doesn't even have his own ones. It's 800 bloody point. Like on talking about spells and stuff. Right.
Yeah, you kind of feel like.
And Gash gets 2. But anyway, so it's like we said, not really useful unless you're giving it to Archaon from our point of view. And then number 6 is Ruinous Vigor. So Ruinous Vigor is casting value 6. If successfully cast, pick one friendly Slaves of Darkness monster wholly within 12 inches of the caster and is visible to them. To your next hero phase, when you look up the value on that monster's damage table, it is treated as it has taken 0 wounds. So the Fleshier Court has this spell as well, and I say it's alright. I sometimes give it to my Terrorgeist and stuff, but it's not my go-to. It's kind of the same in here, but it's even less important because in Slaves of Darkness, a lot of the things that have a monster is actually the guy riding it who does more damage, so he doesn't get affected by the damage table. And if you're to look at things like
Now you got the soul grinder.
I was going to say, yeah, the soul grinder, the war shrine maybe,
Mortalex beast, and the slaughter brute,
which
are all right shouts. But
it
obviously,
the problem I have, and I'm sure you're about to say as well, is It's not a terrible spell, but there are spells in this lore that you need to be casting, and then beyond that, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot, he wants to be casting his own spell all the time. The Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manscore, he wants to be casting his horde killing spell as much as he can. You just don't, and they're not multi-cast wizards unless you give them specific artifacts, etc. So
Yeah, and again, like Dorga, Archaon's Beast, you could argue for him to have this if Archaon's taken quite a lot of wounds. But again, you know, you're not too fussed because you're mainly going for Archaon doing the damage and one shot in monsters.
I'd say, if anything, this spell is useful for not keeping your monsters doing as much damage as possible, you know, making sure they can still do that. But making sure, particularly towards the late game, that they are still being able to move as fast as they can.
Yeah,
that's probably the biggest thing. Like, because
in tactics,
yeah, like
positioning, taking objectives, that can come in clutch, especially for someone like a Manticore who has quite high movement.
Yeah, definitely.
You might want him to fly somewhere at full speed rather than like maybe like 4 inches because he's only got 1 wing left, 2 wings left.
But if you were to say to me, would I keep this spell just in my, you know, my back pocket in case I needed it? Unless most of my heroes could cast a spell, I probably wouldn't be picking it. Like, you know, so that's the thing with this spell lore. There's no spells in it that I like. I just never cast it, apart from maybe the Spike Tongue Cursed a little bit. But there certainly are spells that stand out. For me, the 2 most important spells, I've only had 2 wizards, is the Mask of Darkness to teleport, and then the Binding Damnation to make an enemy unit attack last. They're my 2 top ones. Then my 3rd one would have to be Whispers of Chaos to make the enemy unit not be able to move.
Yes, those are the 3 that stand out for me.
Yeah, and then the other 3, they're not bad, but this isn't a you know, a Legions of Nagash army where you've got loads of spellcasters and everything. You're not bad at casting magic in this army, and you can certainly get ways to plus it, but you've got it's almost that problem, you know, what I call, you know, the Netflix problem. You have so much choice of good spells to cast, you're probably not going to cast these other minor ones as much.
No, definitely not.
And that's that. So with that, I believe we are moving on to the sub-allegiances. How are we doing for time, Jamie?
Yeah, we seem to be doing alright for now.
We good to go on to these guys?
Yep.
Cool, no worries. So, the first sub-allegiance we're going to look at is going to be the Ravagers. So, as you have played this army, Jamie, using this a little while ago, admittedly, before the world film to Doom and Darkness, would you like to lead us through the battle trait for it?
This was one of the ones that I really enjoyed the look of, with how my army has built up before, like you say, before everything just went to absolute crap in the real world.
Good fun.
Now let's start off with Glory for the Taking. The lords and chieftain of the Ravager Horde relentlessly tread the path to glory, seeking to prove themselves the mighty explorers and thus the most worthy to lead. So if your general is not a demon prince, so you got a bit of a sacrifice there. Your general can't be a demon prince in this.
And the demon prince is good.
The demon prince is good, but they got you there. They got you. Don't worry. You pick 1 command trait for up to 5 different friendly Ravager heroes.
5 command traits.
In addition to the command trait your general have. So how it says it there is your general has 1, and then you can have your other 5 heroes having 1 as well, as long as they're not a demon prince.
Pretty damn good.
Although demon princes are really good, having every hero in your army having a command trait, there is a little flaw. I'll carry on. You must pick a different command trait for each of these heroes, and none of them can have more than 1 command trait. You can use these command traits for these heroes, even though they are not your general. So they all got to have different one. So they have a list of 6, and if you're taking 6 heroes, and they're not demon princes, you can have 6 heroes having one of each of the available Ravager command traits.
Which is, there's not many, if any, other sub-allegiances that can do that in the game. So that's quite a big thing.
And it is really helpful. Like all of it, obviously, everyone knows what our command traits are all decent, and it does mean that you can pick and choose on what heroes you want to have certain things. And carrying on from like that next ability, at the start of the hero phase, you can pick one friendly Ravager hero, not a demon prince, that is on the battlefield and has a command trait to stake their claim as warlord. If you do so, that hero becomes the army general until your next hero phase. So you get to change general at every hero phase. So if you go back to your marks of chaos,
Yep, the aura of chaos that we first
your
looked
aura of chaos at the very beginning, you can now choose where you want your general aura. So the +1 to wound for Khorne,
extra -1 was it to shoot in? You know, they're trying to shoot you.
yeah, -1 for Nurgle.
The spell
You
save.
then get to pick where on the board or which hero you want to be giving off that aura. So that's a nice touch. And then their command ability for the Ravagers is Rally the Tribes. You can use this command ability at the end of your movement phase. If you do so, pick the model that is currently your general, so you get to change it. The same model cannot be picked more than once, so you get to do this 6 times. Well, 5 times during a battle, with once every round if you choose. The model rallies 1 unit of 10 Chaos Marauders, 1 unit of Chaos Marauder Horsemen, or 1 Cultist unit of up to 10 models to the battlefield. The unit is added to your army, must out wholly within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield and more than 9 inches from any enemy units. I'd love this. When this Slaves of Darkness book came out and I was building up quite a few Warcry warbands, this was just like, every turn I get to bring on the Warcry warbands.
Every time I get to go, hey guys, look at this other game I play. Yeah, because just in case you're not aware, Cultist is basically Warcry warband.
Yeah, all the Warcry warbands are counted as cultists. But if you're not playing Warcry, or you don't have a lot of the Warcry warbands, bringing on 10 Chaos Marauders or 5 Marauders Horsemen can be very good, especially for me if I was looking at this as a bit more of a competitive mind. Bringing on 5 Marauder Horsemen can just be so annoying for your enemy.
Yeah, because they can shoot when they come on, because I think their shooting is 12 inches. So you can... It's not one of those things where you come on the board edge and you don't do anything for a turn. You come on the board edge and throw your javelins that have rend for some reason. And again, it's just another thing, again, similar to the teleporting spell that we just talked about, where the enemy has to protect their backfield. They can't fully commit forward because you can come in from behind. In this case, you can't come in very strong because it's just a small unit or something, but a small unit's all you need to take an objective. So
yeah, it's something that has to be dealt with.
And annoyingly, if it's not on the board yet, you can't deal with it. So you have to keep things there in anticipation that something might come, and then you as the Slaves of Darkness player might just go, I'm going to bring my guys from over here instead. You've wasted your entire unit's game by being over. So there's loads you can do with it, and you get to do this. Is it 5 or 6 times? You get to do it with every 5 turns, isn't there?
There's 5 turns. So, yeah. 5 turns a game, so you get to do it 5 turns. Obviously, if you're playing your own kind of games, you make them go longer, but you get to do it for once every hero.
Yeah. And Although, if you looked up how much points you get out of this, you're probably summoning a fair bit. But like, it's not like the same as some other armies out there that can summon on massive points of stuff. But the whole thing of this is that you're expending one command point to bring on a unit every time, which again maybe costs quite a bit by the end. But you're bringing on like 5 different units onto the battlefield to be honest, their only job is to try and nick objectives or to just be a pain in the arse to tie up and shoot, and that
Yeah, there's loads of strategy roles you can do in it.
definitely,
Even if you might just want to move, you might pick an elite force and want to move forward. You could just summon, your very first turn, use your command point to bring on 10 Chaos Marauders just to sit on your back objective of your own.
yep.
And then you've got, like 60 points of models that you've summoned on, or 80 points, and they're just sitting there while your main army, you're not leaving 200 points of Chaos Warriors behind. You don't want to be leaving Chaos Warriors behind.
No, you do not want to be doing that. So yeah, and it's and also if you look at the cultists, each unit's good at doing different things. I mean, like the Iron Golems, for example, if they just sit still, they get +1 to their save. So there is different uses for them as well. So with that, and because this is a big part of the battle traits we've read already for the Ravagers, we go into the command traits for them because they can pick so many. So what we'll see when we go over these command traits for these 4 sub-allegiances is that the first 3 in every sub-allegiance is the same, which we've seen repeated a few times in different books, so it's fair enough. And some of them aren't bad, to be honest. I'm not complaining. So
No, especially with this one where
yeah, the first
every
one
hero can have one. If you've not got Demon Prince in your army, Demon Prince are the only one who aren't allowed to have one.
Yeah, and I think the lore aspect of that is because the Ravagers, they are the hordes that sweep across the land, destroying all they find, and it's like they haven't exalted to demonhood yet.
No, that's what they're all aspiring to.
Yeah, so that just in case people are wondering, why can't they have it? That's kind of the reason. But so with the command traits, the first one is bolstered by hate. So add 2 to the general's wound characteristic. It may sound simple, but I like that. That's one of those command traits where if it said add 1 to the general's wound characteristic, it'd be like, it's a bit weak, but add 2, pretty solid, because some of your wounds can be quite high already, especially if you're on a demonic mount or something.
Yeah, adding anything to wounds is always going to be nice, and it can, that's one of those ones where it can benefit anyone in your army. Extra 2 wounds to save can save you.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's the same with what's coming on to the next one. Once per turn, you can use at the double, forward to victory, or inspiring presence command ability without using the command point being spent if the friendly unit is a cultist unit. Obviously, it makes you bring on cultists, but having not to use a command point on them.
This is a hungry command point sub-allegiance by how much stuff you want to bring on from the board edge, so...
So getting 1 for free, yeah, you got to use it on cultists, but it's free.
Yeah, if it's free, can't turn out. It's one. I'll be honest, one of those things where if you could only pick one command trait in this sub-allegiance, I'd be like, probably not the one for me. But because it's just like, right, quickly grab them, you've got 5 to choose from or 6 to choose from or whatever, it could be useful.
Then you go on to the next one. You can add also subtract 2 from the result of any roll made for the general on the Eye of the Gods table. So obviously you'll be giving this to more your combat guy.
Yep.
If you're including one. Obviously you don't have to give this to anyone. You might only take 5 heroes, and this might be the one you leave out. Here's the one I'd think a bit bland, but it might swing. If you might roll 10, but then you bump it up to 2, you now got a Demon Prince.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Or you might roll Spordom, and then you pass that up to 2, and then you've now got, I think it's -1 rend on one of your weapons.
Yeah, you go fuck, bring it up. I completely agree. I'm a bit torn with this one because we said that it's, the eyes of the God is a bit narrative, and it's that you can't guarantee you'll get it, and it might not even happen in a game. But in case it does, I love this because how much circumstances would have to be in place for you to actually trigger Eye of the Gods, and then you can make sure you get something you want, which is I like it, especially when you can pick so many. It's one I'll be taking that sooner before I take Unquestioned Resolve, probably just out of narrative reasons, but I think it's cool. But then when we've got the next 3, which are specific to the Ravagers. So the first one is number 4, so Eternal Vendetta. So you can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by this general. In addition, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by this general if the target is an order unit. So what that means is, obviously you can't tell you're fighting against an order unit, or if you know you're fighting against an order army, can I direct you to this one, please? But even if you're not, reroll and failed wound rolls is good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially if you're Khorne and you're adding 1 to wound rolls anyway. If you're the general, particularly, you could be wounded on 2, 3 rolling 1. Well, all fails.
It's good for your Garden Manticore, Karkadrak, and reroll. If you're happen to fight in order units, rerolling all failed hits is a very nice bonus as well. Yeah. It's definitely one that, you wouldn't really want to give it to a wizard. You've got a wizard in your army. You want to give it with someone who's more likely to do damage. So, like, even if it is a wizard, like you can have a Sorcerer Lord or Manticore. At least you can maybe give the Manticore and him with his scythe a bit more chance to doing damage, if that's what you want from him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you're building your list and using these command traits, one of the biggest things will be choosing who gets what, because you'll probably be able to work it out for like the first 1 or 2 command traits, and after that it's a bit of a wandering situation, but you'll be able to figure it out. So
that's what I find like the fun thing with this is, you're used to picking 1.
Yeah.
But now it's like, now I've got a choice of what hero can benefit from this better, and they all like queue up to have them. It's like the next one is another like damaging one. The unmodified wound roll for an attack made by this general is a 6. The target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. So you can give this to someone on the front line just to kind of pump up a bit of mortal wounds, especially if you've got with someone who maybe's got a Sinesh mark, who then has exploding 6s to hit, so you get maybe a bit more wound rolls coming through.
Yeah, I was also thinking that's probably mathematically better, but I was thinking if you're Nurgle and you just get a 6 and you just go, winner chicken dinner, and you just go, right, okay, that's going to be an extra damage and you're taking a mortal wound as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's quite a good thing. Like I said, if you're Nurgle and you're aiming to try and be able to get as many wound rolls or 6s as possible, then this is only going to make good things happen as well when you get it. So number 6, Master of Deception. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by meta weapons that target this general. That just a flat out good one.
Yeah, this one out of all the 6 would be my favourite. Maybe my favourite one. It just gives whoever's got it a lot more survivability.
I would maybe put this on the Manticore, or saying that's going to be absorbing a lot of the enemy attacks, like something with a big base, essentially.
Yeah, someone who's maybe going to attract a lot of fire.
Yeah.
Like your Chaos Sorcerer on Manticore, because you want him to stay alive for his spells. Giving him -1 to hit. And obviously if he's Nurgle as well, that means he can't be shot either.
Mm.
Because if you make him your general, he's going to be -1 to hit for shooting as well.
Yeah, it just really adds up. And at this point, after we've read all the command traits for the sub-legions, we will tell you which ones we think are the best. But you can take all of them, so that will be my advice. Don't miss one out. If you've got 6 heroes, take them. If they're not Demon Friends. Or Arcane. Or Bellicor. I think that's got me covered. Almost. Or any of the heroes from Warcry or anything, or Warbands. Okay, so we now move on to the artifacts of power, which, funny enough, are one of the things where if you maybe can take more of one thing, it's an artifact. But now, unless you've got a battalion, just the one. So artifacts of power, trophies of conquest, these are called, and they are for Ravager heroes only. So the first one is Hellfire Sword. So once per battle, in your shooting phase, you can pick one enemy unit within 8 inches of the bearer and is visible to them. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. And what I think is just cool about this is you will have a badass Chaos Lord who will just be staring down at an enemy hero and go, "Hey, you prick," and he'll just turn around, and then just like a bolt of fire or lava just shoots from this sword and hits him in the face. I mean, like, I think it's quite thematic. I think it's quite like you can just like as like a like an anime or a cartoon sort of sketch of it. It's like, didn't see that coming.
I think if anything, out of all the ones, your opponent would be surprised if you took this.
Yeah, it's like,
because the only thing I personally am not a fan. The once per battle is just.
oh, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying like it's a strong choice, but I just like I haven't even read the lore for it. This blade was made from a single searing flame that was hammered into material form. A quench blood of a. It's from a
Fire Djinn.
It's from a fire genie. If you've watched
But
anything
then
with
it's funny
Genie,
how
Witcher
it's got
springs to
one
mind.
use.
Fun.
It's funny how like the lore there, made from a single searing flame that was hammered into material form. So it sounds like it's a lot of effort
A lot of
quenched
effort's
in the
gone into
blood
this.
of a fire Djinn, and then you use it once and it goes out.
Yeah, it's just like boom. Whoa, did you? As the best thing is like you can imagine the guy who's wielding it is not the guy who put all the effort into making it, but he feels bad for the guy who did, and the guy who made it goes like, "Oh, how'd it go? Did you kill the guy?" "Oh no, I didn't kill the target. What did you? How many mortal wounds did you do?" "Rolled a 1. "Oh, you did 1 mortal wound. That helps." "Yeah, saved it though, didn't he? Saved it. Can you go find another? Can you go find another fire genie for me, please?"
I do feel like it's very lackluster, isn't it? It is funny, but
Yeah, it's
you kind of feel like each shooting phase on a 3-up, you do D3 more wounds.
it's
Would be something a bit more useful.
it makes me laugh because you see other things like this that have like a once per game banshee shriek or something. It's
Which
like,
can be devastating against the right army.
it can be devastating, but after you've done it, it goes like, it's your turn now. You're not going to do it again. And go, no, my throat's a bit dry. I don't really want to shout. Like I've got a strep should be good. Should be good next game. Anyway, so we've been talking this one for too long, but there are actually genies in Warhammer, which I wasn't completely confirmed in Age of Sigmar, so that's cool. Or a Djinn. I don't know if that's lore different. I know a Djinn is in The Witcher when he can't sleep. I know that's a big thing.
That's the next army reveal. The Djinn army.
I thought you were going to say the Witcher's army. I was going to say yes, but yes, the Djinn army could be. I've heard one of the giants is actually secretly identifies himself as a genie, so that I'm just putting it out there. But number 2, blasphemous. I kind of got the first word, and then what's the next?
Curious.
I was going to say curtains, so yeah, curious to sound better. So roll a dice each time a mortal wound is allocated to the bearer. On a 5+, that mortal wound is negated. So as simple as, this is good if your guy does not already have a 5 at mortal wound save, which some of the Slaves of Darkness heroes already have. So
Yeah, it is. If you already got it, you don't need it. If you don't have it, it's useful. You're going to get a bit more mileage out of this than the sword.
What I'd say is if you're undivided, don't take this because you won't get the extra 6 up mortal wound save if you're the general. You know that whole deal. But yeah, so like I say, if you need it, you need it. But going on to number 3, we've got Helm of the Oppressor. So subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units whilst they are within 6 inches of the bearer. Yes, you can make bravery bombs, but I don't think bravery bombs are nearly as good as they were.
No, and when you got, Petrofet Elite, not Petrofet, like just
Like
Bone Whips in
all of
general,
them,
just
yeah.
ignore it. Demon armies, not really going to be affected too much.
Bloons by Gits, we've got command points coming out of our arse.
Yeah.
And I honestly did not understand that they could generate that many command points. I just heard everyone talked about it, and then I thought Wayne's army, and I was like, yes, they can. But so yeah, it's not as useful. You can stack it. I mean, you can have the very sassy new cat in this army can make the enemy -2 as well, I think, and I think you could you can ally in like a Bray wizard who can then put on the endless spell Beast Horn, which I think from memory minus the enemy's bravery. So you could make it stacking thing, but it's too much effort.
Yeah, for your opponent just to go 1 point, they're not taking battle shot.
Or your opponent goes, "We're not just chaos, we're chaos undivided," and you go, "Oh my god!" And then yeah, it happens. So number 4, we have Cloak of the Relentless Conqueror. I don't know why, but I've sort of gone to a bit of humour now when I'm reading these, because you made like, I have now conquered half the realm of fire. You have, my lord. Very, very impressive stuff. I think what I need to show this is a cloak. Not an axe. No, a cloak. Okay. I mean, we killed all the fabric makers, but I mean, we can find other ones. Good. And what it does is lets you reroll charge rolls to the bearer. So yeah,
It's a very fast cloak.
It almost makes
It
you.
flutters in the wind, makes you run faster.
Yes, it almost makes you more fast than if. I mean, I think a cloak would wear you down, but or get snagged on a branch, but as in every fantasy film ever happens. But so that's that. And then number 5 is Mark. Okay, so let's talk reroll charge rolls. That's good, but if you're going, like I say, the Sinesh side of things, you can make it so your army can do that anyway. So yeah, it's generally good, but
it maybe helps, but it's for the bearer, isn't it? Maybe it helps the bearer not have to spend a command point, which
yeah,
is maybe decent. But next one is the one.
Yeah, Mark of the High Favoured. Do you want to read through this one?
Friendly Ravagers units are affected by the bearer's Aura of Chaos ability while they are wholly within 18 inches,
Yeah,
not 12.
That's why when I mentioned the Despoilers sub-allegiance, where you go for a Demon Prince general, he can do this. And honestly, those Auras of Chaos are so useful, and there's so much synergy you can put into that. That expanding it by an extra 6 inches, making it 12 to 18, is huge. Like,
Definitely.
yeah, I really can't. Especially if you put it on a guy with a big base. And remember,
it's wholly within. So.
Yeah, wholly within, and like you mentioned earlier, in this sub-allegiance, you're picking and choosing who your general is all the time. So you will almost always be within your general's Aura of Chaos additional ability when you need to be.
It's definitely the standout one.
Yeah, it's that's great, because a lot of time with artifacts you're only looking for one. You can put in a battalion, and battalion is something to talk about in another video. But I would say the battalions for Slaves of Darkness, they're not auto include go tos, but there are some that you can include in your army. There's some that aren't bad. Like, it's not like Iden Deepkin, where you can just rip out the battalion pages out of that book. But it's not like certain battle tomes out there which are getting slimmer now, I'll be honest, but some battle tomes out there that some of their battalions are auto include. Slaves of Darkness kind of fits in the middle, where you can build an army around it, but you don't feel like you have to. So you're kind of looking for one artifact. And then the last one is Desecrator Gauntlets. So subtract 2 from casting rolls for enemy wizards while they are within 3 inches of the bearer. Pardon me. In addition, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by the bearer if the target is a wizard or priest. The range is so short on that.
Yeah, you're pretty much in combat, and if you've
The
got
question
to
you're asking is,
combat,
why is the wizard not dead yet?
yeah,
And if he isn't dead, I'm presuming it's because he's a powerful wizard. And if he's a powerful wizard, a subtract 2 is probably not going to do a massive deal to him. It's probably going to make him normal casting. Yeah. Okay. Mark of the High Favoured is the one we're going for.
oh, definitely.
I mean,
And you'd want that on who you would consider in your army as your, I'd say your most mobile guy, because you want his aura to be the biggest. Someone who you're more than likely going to be calling the general quite a few times, and it's also your change into summon stuff. Having 18-inch ranges, that's too good to pass up.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more on that one. So that is the Ravagers. So the first sub-allegiance. How are you doing for time, Jamie? You alright?
Yeah, we can still go on for a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. So the next one is going to be the... How do you pronounce this one then?
I'll pronounce it as Cabalist.
Because it's how the warband sounds, yeah? The Warcry warband.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Cabalist. So this is all about magic.
So those high casting value spells. Let's say high casting. Obviously you're rolling standard dice. 7 can be a pain to get to, especially if you really want it.
Yeah.
And these guys, I played these guys as well, and they just go through. At the start of your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Cabalist wizard to perform a ritual, and you get 2 rituals. The first one, pick a friendly Cabalist unit within 3 inches of the wizard performing this binding ritual, and roll die. On a 3+, the ritual is successful and D3 models from that unit are slain. So they're not suffering wounds, D3 models die. So you want to be doing this on 1 wound models, really. You don't want to be killing off anyone higher, because it's models and not wounds.
Yeah, if you're starting to try and target your Chaos Knights with this, I don't know what you're trying to achieve.
And if you really need that spell, for each model that was slain in the ritual, add 1 to the casting of all Cabalist wizards until the end of the phase. So obviously, if you roll a 3, all your wizards in your army now have +3 to cast, which then makes them all powerful wizards.
Yeah, that's because some of the spells like we've gone through and also on the War Scroll, sometimes they're like a 7 to cast, which gets in the realms of can't guarantee that's going to happen every turn. So if you really want your magic to go off, this is kind of, as you can see, the one you want to go for.
Yeah, it more solidifies you getting off, even just the low casting spells. It gives you a higher chance of your opponent not being able to bind it.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm reading this. I'm thinking you're going to get +3 to your cast, and it's D3, so you can't guarantee it. But hopefully, you'll kill a few marauders or cultists, whoever you're sacrificing, or some snakes. But I think on average, you're going to get +2 to cast, which is good. You don't need to worry about your guys dying who are being sacrificed, because honestly, them dying to give you the plus of the cast, it's just flat out worth the trade. So yeah, and particularly how we mentioned how good some of the spells are. So yeah, that's good. If you really need that teleport that turn or one of those, you can do it. And it's pick one of your friendly Cabalist wizards as well. It's not like it has to be the general and narrows you down. You can really pick who you need. So yeah,
Yeah, you can pick anyone who's got people near him.
yeah,
So even at end, the last round of the game, you just go to whatever wizard is closest to, within 3 inches of another unit. And if you really need a spell off, then you just sacrifice it, because you do it for the win, don't you?
yeah, 100%.
The second ritual.
So ritual corruption.
Ritual corruption.
So
Pick a friendly Cabalist unit within 3 inches of the wizard performing this spell, in which I roll dice again on a 3+, killing D3 of the units. And then you pick one predatory in the spell within 12 inches of the wizard. If one model was slain, you get to move the end spell up to 3 inches. If 2 models were slain in the ritual, you can move it up to 6 inches. And if 3 models were slain by this ritual, you can move it 9 inches.
That's
not bad.
It's a way.
It means you can get a spell out your face.
Get a spell out your face. You've got some good spells in your army as well to maximise those, and it's a way for you to annoy the enemy more by making them regret they brought in the spells. Because when you make them move, you can make them do damage to the enemy, or whatever negative effect, from how I read it. Yeah, because it's when when you look at a predatory spell, when it moves, it does this.
Yeah.
So although it's not like in that void between battle rounds where spells move, it's still going to do the damage. So I don't know if the enemies sent the big Taurus, the bull from the Beastmans that's done that to you to try and make you fight large, you can then chuck it back at them.
Yeah. Even like with the Geminids. Yeah. Even if your opponents are just doing it just to block your path, you can just move it.
Yeah, you really can. And you can I'm trying to think, when we had a game as well and you brought all your fucking ender spells out to play from the Slaves Darkness, and I swear you did. I think you just got really lucky with the mortal wounding, but you could maximise your potential with your ender spells in this army, couldn't you? Like the whatever it's called, the spikes that come out the ground that move in a straight line, fantastic spell. You can really make that move fucking really far if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, definitely. It kind of goes for the same with the Demon Fire one as well. But with the Cabalist, you do want quite a few wizards to obviously benefit.
Oh yeah, if you're taking one, no point.
Yeah, if you're only taking like one wizard, probably not the one you'd choose to go for.
Yeah.
But let's say like the rest of them, the Hellfire spell, get onto it another time. But its damage is based on, it gets extra damage based on wizards, the magical energy. So that would be a good combo to bring into with this army, and having the potential to have +3 to cast is very good. And moving your opponents in their spells to where they may not want them is going to be handy as well.
Well, it's that whole thing, and admittedly, you probably on average, can't move the Ender spells further than they would move normally because you need to kill 3 of your guys in the sacrifice to make it move 9. But sometimes the enemy will give up a priority just because they do not want to face the Ender spells. And you can make the enemy give up the priority so they get to move the Ender spells, and then your turn, and you just get to move them back to where they were. You can really play around with it. And then, so those are the rituals, so the 2 rituals. And then the other thing they get in the battle traits for the Cabalists is the spell. So this is a spell that the wizards know, and it's called Crippling Ruin. So Crippling Ruin has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster and is visible to them. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, reduce the move characteristic of that unit by the number of mortal wounds inflicted by the spell until your next hero phase. So what I would say, I'm comparing this spell to the was it the Chaos Whispers that we saw in the spell lore. This spell is good if you're targeting against a single model unit, obviously, because you can't guarantee you'll kill it, and if you killed it, what's the point? But in all honesty, being able to reduce their movement by 3 inches is just for a casting value of 7. I know you're doing the mortal wounds as well, but it's like it's not as good as the other spells you need to cast. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree, really.
The range is good, is what I would say, though, 18, because a lot of the spells you have in this army, particularly in that lore we read through, are range 12. So it's got good range.
It's a good thing that you know it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to pick it, do you?
No. And I think the kind of best situation I would think is, obviously, if your opponent has quite a crippled monster, if you just do a little D3 damage, you might not kill it. But if it's going down to its last bracket of movement because of the D3 damage, and then you're reducing its movement even more, it's going to be less effective on the next turn.
Yeah, let's say, I don't know, it's gone down to movement 5 already, and they've made a movement 3. Bless me. But yeah, so I think, like you say, you don't have to pick it either. You have it in there. It could even mean, because you have it included in here, you're thinking, I want to go with the Chaos Whispers or the Dark Wisp, whatever it's called, to really play around with the enemy movement, but I really want the teleport spell as well. Let's say they're your 2 choices. Well, you've got this spell in your army, so you can leave the not being able to make the enemy move spell and use this as a fit-in for now.
Yeah, I think it's a good backup. It's not like it's useless.
No, and like I say, I think a range is a strong point, because a lot of the ranges were 12. But anyway, so with that, the next one we're moving on to with the Cabalists is going to be the command traits. Now, unfortunately, these guys only get to pick 1 command trait. I know they're not the Ravagers, but, they get all the magic buff, don't they? So what we're going to say is the first 3 we've already read through. It was the plus to wound, it was the... No,
it's the
it's
bravery.
changed, isn't it? I thought they were the same, just going through. The second
plus
one,
2 wounds.
The second one's changed. Number 2, Lord of Terror. That's changed.
So drop 1 from bravery.
That's not the reroll charge roll for cultists.
Yeah, it's the same as the artifact on what the Ravagers had.
Yeah.
Unless you're stacking loads of minus bravery.
Yeah,
I'd rather give my wizard plus 2 wounds.
It's okay. I'd leave it. Yeah. But then going on to the specific ones that they get is firstly Mighty Ritualist. So when this general attempts to perform a ritual of Sorcerous Might, that ritual is successful on a 2+. That is just there for you to almost guarantee to get your rituals off.
So what that way
For
is
your
saying
first
there?
one anyway. For your
So that's for your
for the
plus
plus
3
to cast.
magic, the plus to cast.
Yeah.
And then you got another one. The next one is for your other ritual. So you can pick really if you want one of these. If you know in your head what ritual you're mostly going to be doing, and if you really want it.
Yeah.
So the Ritual Sorcerer's Might to get in the pluses class would be one I think I did pick on my first outing, and probably be the pick would just go to, because I would always be going for the pluses to cast if I was playing Cabalists, because I'll be taking a lot of wizards for sure.
Yeah. It's less situational than moving in the spells because you always want to get pluses to cast. So yeah, there's that, and then obviously the number 5, like we say, it's just to help out moving the endless spells. And I would say if you're not doing it on a 2-up, it's almost hard to plan. You're always going to be doing your rituals every turn, but with the 2-up, you can almost guarantee it. I know there's 5 turns in a 5 battle rounds in a game, and there are 6 sides on a D6. But you can almost say that if you've got it on a 2-up, maybe one of your turns you won't get your ritual off. It's quite good. So number 6, which is all for 1 for the command trait. So once per battle, when your general successfully performs a binding ritual, for each model slain by that ritual, you can heal 1 wound allocated to this general. I don't like it. If you want to try and stop your general from dying, just give him 2 extra wounds.
Yeah, it's a little heal mechanic.
Sorry, I've just reread that. Once per game. Yeah, that's crap. That's awful.
And the most wounds you can get is free, so yeah, I'd rather just start the game off with 2 extra wounds.
On average, you will heal 2 wounds from this, maybe less. Or you can just start with 2 wounds.
Yeah, I'd rather just start with 2 wounds.
Yeah. Enough said of that.
So for me, you're either going for the Ritual Sorcerer's Might or plus 2 wounds, just to give your wizard a bit more survivability.
I'd agree. Depends. If you really want to get with your magic, yeah, absolutely. Mighty Ritualist, or the if you want to keep the guy alive. I imagine if you have your Chaos Lord and Manticore, if you give him an extra 2 wounds, he really now becomes quite buff.
Yeah, when I took Mighty Ritualist, it was for my little sorcerer who kind of stayed doing the backfields, just sacrificing, killing my innocent dudes.
Don't blame him. So going on to the artifacts. So for the Cabalist, so the first one is Soul Feeder. So pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack made by that weapon is a 6, you can heal 1 wound to the bearer. It's too situational.
And the only person who's going to do a lot of damage, obviously you don't need to all have wizards in this army, so this could be quite good for Chaos Lord.
He's healing wounds anyway. If he kills heroes, I believe.
Demon Prince, extra wounds. It's not bad. Obviously, looking at this army, you are thinking wizards, but you obviously can have offensive people in there. The other thing you got to think, going back to the command traits Masters of Dark Sorcery, and only Cabalist wizards can have it. So your general has to be a wizard. But going on to your artifacts, you can have obviously Demon Prince in your army, and Chaos Lord on Manticore, or Carcadrak, and that healing will help them survive a bit longer.
I think I'd only pick this if I can get a way to reroll wound rolls. Personally, I don't know if it's just my luck, but I can't guarantee getting 6s when I want them. So I think because
that's why you want to be Khorne.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But then this is all wizards, so maybe not so much.
There's not for your heroes in this army, most of them have an average number of attacks that do 2 damage, maybe a bit more. Some of them are all about weight of attacks, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It,
it's
where I'd say this is more wizard. You're going more wizard heavy.
yeah. I wouldn't go for this one because I don't want wizards to get in combat. I'm going to say it. So number 2, we've got Black Aphane. So once per battle, when the bearer attempts to perform a binding ritual, you can say that they will use the artifact. If you do so, binding ritual is successful. Do not roll. If you really want to guarantee your rituals off, you go Mighty Ritualist and you go this. But if you want to go with a different command trait, but you still want to be able to at least once always guarantee you've got the ritual going off, this is for you. On a
Yeah.
on a 3-up, trying to cast a ritual, being able to do it automatically, useful. But if you're already getting on a 2-up, not useful, I'd say.
Yeah,
Thinking
I'm
about it.
quite happy just having the 2-up and just sucking up that one time you rolled a 1.
Yeah, fair enough. It will be the time when you really need it. So the next one is Infernal Puppet. So once per battle in your hero phase, you can pick one enemy wizard within 24 inches of the bearer and is visible to them. In the next hero phase, each time that a wizard attempts to cast a spell, they suffer D3 mortal wounds before the casting roll is made. If the wizard is slain by these mortal wounds, the casting attempt fails. So I'm going to say one word, and it's also featured in the name of this channel, which is Nagash. You want to cast 8 spells? Okay.
Okay, yeah, you want to cast 8 spells? That's going to be like 8 lots of D3 more wounds.
I would almost just like it if it was like you cast the spells, and then after all the spells are cast, then you inform your opponent about this ability. And you go, right, so you casted those eight spells, those 8 arcane bolts, Nagash. Roll 8 dices for me, please. Just see how you have mortal wound save, don't you? You're gonna need it. Yeah, I like this a lot because you also got Teclis, you got Lord Croak, and 24 inches is a big range. Like if Lord Croak, I imagine he sort of stays at the back of the field, so you can. I'm thinking this may be my favourite. So number 4, we have Spell Eater Pendant. So the bearer gains the wizard keyword and can attempt to unbind one spell in the enemy hero phase. In each phase, if the bearer is already a wizard, they can attempt to bind one extra spell in the enemy hero phase. You're going to have a lot of wizards in your army anyway. This isn't particularly useful. Agree?
Yeah, the one extra unbind could be alright, but
you don't get to cast another spell. Like
yeah, because you don't get the cast, then I'd skip it.
Yeah. If you could cast a spell, great, but you can't. So Scroll of Dark Unveiling. So once per battle, or when the bearer attempts to unbind a spell, instead of making a unbind roll, you say the bearer will use this artifact. If you do so, the spell is automatically unbound. That's not bad. But in all honesty, I know it's only once per battle, but I'd be more
for once per battle. It's something I would consider taking, but it kind of thing. At tournament, I probably would consider maybe taking it because you're going to come up with high
cast or something.
Yeah, high magic people. Obviously, your local scene, your local scene, and it probably, in more generic terms, it's probably not going to be that great.
Yeah,
It'd be something I'd probably consider taking if I could take 2 artifacts.
That's fair enough. I would be similar as well. And then for number 6, we have Spell Familiar. So the bearer knows one extra spell from the Law of the Damned. It's always good to increase your inventory or what spells you know, but in all honesty, your bearer already has a good spell in his War Scroll. He's already picking a good spell from the Law. He can only cast 1 spell. Like, does he really need to have the choice of 3 over an automatic unbind or the Infernal Puppet?
Yeah. I'd probably go more automatic unbind or infernal puppet.
I would say probably, for me, I prefer the Infernal Puppet, but I think on average, what's going to be more useful, probably the Unbind. Infernal Puppet I love because if you put it on a wizard that's going to cast lots of spells, like, for example, my Archer Regent, my Flesh Eater Court army, I have a way to make him get +3 to cast and also be able to cast 3 spells on a Bellwing Vortex. If you tell me every time I cast a spell I'm taking D3 mortal wounds, I will maybe reconsider casting so many spells. So like it's so then at that point you're basically making the enemy do an unbind themselves by making them not cast the spell in the first place. So, but if you're looking at one cast wizards, I'd rather just have like there's one cast wizards that have a great spell. I would say, like for example, if the enemy wants to drop a comment on your face first thing with a Stormcast wizard, you can go, nope, no, you're not. Was it attempts to unbind a spell? Okay, I'm presuming that a spell in the writing here is the same as an endless spell. If it's not, obviously, but you can really stop. Yeah, I don't think they are the best artifacts, if I'm honest. I would have really liked an artifact that said the bearer can cast an extra spell. I think that would have been great.
Yeah, that would be a favourable one. I suppose spell familiar, knowing an extra spell from the lore means you have a bit more options. But in terms of
wizard.
But how you're looking at this army, if you're taking 4 or 5 wizards, you're taking the four spells
anyway.
from just lore now do good. Yeah, you kind of would be hoping more of a cast 1 extra spell. All in all, is a fun army to play. But the wizards in the Slay the Darkness army are so useful.
They really are. They are for sure. And yeah, that's the Cabalist. So that is them done. Now looking at the Despoilers for their sub-allegiance. So this is all going to be about Demon Princes, and myself and Jamie, as you may have already learned throughout this video so far, we love me a Demon Prince. So this is one you're quite a bit of a fan of as well, aren't you, Jamie?
Yeah, this is when you're looking at the book. I'd say maybe the first one that maybe catches your eye. With all the other abilities we've talking about so far. And Demon Princes have always been a cool model in my eyes.
Always a cool model. The model itself is really nice, to be honest. I'm a big fan of it. I don't really even have one. I've done a conversion, so I'm already keen to buy one just to make the normal one. Yourself, you've got a standard one, but you've given it a corn axe, as most people would understand.
Yeah, I must say, the one thing about that kit, from a corn point of view, that axe is piddly.
Yeah,
it is an axe unworthy of corn.
I mean, I don't know what the guy's hiding behind his loincloth, but with that axe, clearly not a lot. So you really need a bigger axe. Get yourself a bloodthirster, chuck away the rest of the kit, keep the axe. But then you've also, out of the kit, you managed to green stuff, make some mould, didn't you? And
yeah, I managed to get Demon Prince number 2, because you get some extra arms. You do have an extra chest, so you only need to make it back. And then I pillaged some wings from somewhere, because Demon Prince got to have wings.
Yeah, you got to have like Frostart Phoenix, maybe not. Green, was it?
Partly Phoenix wings with some green stuff in there to add it up.
Yeah, to give it a bit more courtesy. So why are we talking about Demon Prince right now before we go into what it is? And that's because the spoiler is all about Demon Princes. And Demon Princes are something that I definitely want to be running a lot in my Chaos Slaves Darkness list. At least one, ideally more, just because they're, I think, one of the best war scrolls in the army. And also for, like I say, on a competitive scale, but on a fun scale. They just, one of the things, always attack first in the combat phase. So that is a case of, obviously you could fight against another enemy that can attack first, and that's a separate discussion, but they always attack first, so you always get to play with them before they die. So that's always a nice thing. But with that, let's actually get onto the rules of the spoilers. So, starting off, the first ability they have is Sacrilege Might?
Sacrilegious Might.
There we go. Kind of got the sack bit right. Okay, so friendly unit...
Sacrilegious Might.
So Might, not Lord of the Rings Might, but normal Might. So what it does is friendly units with the same mark of Chaos keyword as your general are affected by the general's aura of Chaos ability while they're wholly within 18 inches of your general. That's great. Your general doesn't have to be a Demon Prince to do that. Just flat out 18-inch range. And because we talked about how good those aura of Chaos abilities are, and good enough to the point and easy enough to the point to use that you almost are relying on them all the time. 18-inch bubble, great, fantastic. Right.
That is brilliant. And like I said, in one of the other ones, you had to take an artifact to make it that big. I mean, this one, the Despoilers, the general gets it for free.
Yeah, just it's
and
great.
if that wasn't enough, it then goes on. In addition, roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a Demon Prince. That is a general. So this is why you want to make your Demon Prince your general.
Yep.
On a 5+, that wound or mortal wound is negated. So straight off the back, your Demon Prince has an 18-inch aura, and now he has a 5+ wounds, ward save, if you will, against wounds and mortal wounds.
Which is great, because I'm sure a lot of you will be wanting to take a Chaos War Shrine in your list, but as far as I'm aware, I think that only gives you a ward save against, for your mortals, isn't it? So
yeah,
so your Demon Prince isn't going to get that. So a 5+, it's going to be useful. Like you say, he's got a 3+, and then he's got a 5+ wound or mortal, and the nice thing there, just to say, it's not just for mortal wounds; it's for wounds as well, which is great. And he will more likely be attacking first in the combat phase. So, it just helps survivability. And then when we go on to... Do you want to read the next ability, Jamie? It's going to help him stay alive even more.
So, yeah, another one that straight off the bat for Demon Princes is Blessed by the Unholy. In your hero phase, you can roll a dice for each friendly Despoiler Demon Prince and Despoilers monsters on the battlefield. On a 4+, you can heal up to D3 wounds. I don't know why Multi-Elect Vortex Beast can only heal 1 instead of D3.
So that's because...
But that's the odd exception there.
So the Mutilith Vortex Beast, it can heal D3 anyway in the hero phase. So obviously what Games Workshop thought is that, hang on, you're saying if we make this Mutilith Vortex Beast be able to heal 2d3 in the hero phase, they just said, no, we can't do that. That's going to break the game. And there's something we know about Games Workshop is they always make sure, especially in Age of Sigmar, every army release is completely balanced and does not beat every other army in a tournament. So they realised if they made the Vortex Beast heal 2d3 more wounds, that's it. They may raise to the top, this is why they really like to make things like Keeper of Secrets to make sure things stay balanced and terrorize. But anyway, that's a little rant aside. I'm sorry, I used to own a Mutilith Vortex Beast, and I always rolled a 1 on the D3 to heal it, so I was, it would have been lovely to actually heal more, but that's fine.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that for, I think maybe our second game ever.
Yeah, I was, actually got Jamie into sort of the first games of getting Jamie into Age of Sigmar. It turns out he's watched loads of battle reports online, and it turned out he was actually on par of how good I was, despite being playing for about 2 years. And that Mutilith Vortex. I know we're going off topic again, but apologies. But it is a long video at this point. But the Mutilith Vortex, the reason I loved it is I know it's very Zechian, but it's just the like chaos portal hand its back that like mutated the enemy around it and the land around it. Really narrative, One of the things is like it turns the enemy's limbs to like mutated animal legs. They're like -1 to movement. Little things like that were great, but unfortunately Jamie made it die every time, so never got to see what it did. Every time. Wouldn't it be cool? No. But anyway, the good point about this ability was, like we say, we're keeping your demon princes alive for longer with that 4-up. It doesn't on the battlefield. Okay, yeah, I'm preempting this. I'm thinking about another ability we'll get to later. But yeah, for your demon princes, but also
It's in your hero phase. Having a possible D3 wound heal is always going to be good. I know demon princes don't need. They don't know, obviously, wound tracker for damage table, but a heal is always good.
Well, because you've got a 3-up save and you've got that 5-up ignore, it means that probably the enemy is going to do a bit of damage here and there to your demon princes. Unless they really dedicate to killing them, they're probably not going to wipe them out in one go. So when they just do a bit of damage here and there, this is just going to probably on average heal it up for you. And also it means if you've got because it's a monster, I believe, if you've got Archaea on the list, it's a 4-up way to heal him D3 every.
Yeah, you got the few monsters, like I say, Mortal Beast, got the Stiver Brute, and you got the
Brute,
Soul Grinder,
and the Soul Grinder, and Manticores. So
Manticores as well. It's a great way to keep your big things either on the next damage table up, so they do a bit more damage or have a bit more movement. It'll give you all surviving. Then you got the last little billing. You think that'd be enough?
Yeah, it's and what I like about this is it's so far it's not too complicated to remember. You're not having to change your general every turn, and you're not having to remember how to do the sacrifices. And I know they're not particularly complicated, but like this is just flat out passive abilities, which is cool.
Yeah, and then they get their next ability as well, which is a two-part.
Mm-hmm. It's Twisted Dominion.
Twisted Dominion, a friendly Despoiler demon prince. So again, it focuses on demon princes. Finishes a move within 6 inches of a terrain feature. You can give that terrain feature to Pitch Black and Nightmare Chasm scenery rules below until your next hero phase. Despoilers demon princes and Despoilers monsters are unaffected by these scenery rules. So straight away your princes are quite important, but also your monsters are not affected by these two rules, which are Pitch Black and Nightmare Chasm. So we'll start with Pitch Black. You pick a terrain feature within 6 inches of you. Models are not visible to each other if an imaginary straight line 1 millimeter wide drawn between the closest points of the two models cross over more than 1 inch of the terrain. A good way to mess with people shooting.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm a big fan of the Riddick films, and I did enjoy Pitch Black. The last Riddick was a bit of a repeat, but with this rule, it's we played it when we were playing against like my proxy Bone Reaper's army, weren't we? And I had a catapult that was behind a bit of scenery, and you just moved up forward and just went right, boom. That's Pitch Black.
Can't take me.
You can't shoot. And yeah, it was just as simple as that. And it was one of these things that I just didn't really I didn't really think about that much. I was like, he might make his, I don't know, Source Lord at the back on a pitch black scenery so you can't shoot it. But when you you realise that no, the enemy is just going to shut you down completely. It's quite good because often if you have things like artillery and stuff you don't want the enemy to get to, and let's say you can't shoot your artillery without line of sight, you might still put it behind some scenery and just like those sceneries that aren't too tall, just so it means that it makes it harder for the enemy to charge you directly. And then this happens, and it was a regret not doing it. I should have let your Chaos Knights charge it. It would have been more entertaining. So we've got Pitch Black, and then we've got Nightmare Chasm. So at the start of your hero phase, roll a dice for this terrain feature on a 6. Each unit within 1 inch of it suffers D3 mortal wounds. Roll separately for each unit. I don't like this as much, just because abilities on a 6.
I mean, you got to hope that your opponents are within 1 inch of it.
Yeah.
So if you're against Sylvaneth, they're probably going to be in 1 inch of terrain because that's where they hang out. Maybe the same with the goblins, gloom spikes.
And if you've
It's just a little added bonus. It's not, I think, going to be as come up as much
No.
than being able to block someone's terrain, line of sight.
And you have to almost double turn the enemy to make the most out of it. Because if you tell me, right, that Sigmar's going to maybe make me take more wounds, and then it's my turn next. Unless I have to stay there, I'm probably just going to move all outside of 1 inch.
Yeah, and without some of the, it all depends how the terrain is set up and like who you're fighting. Obviously, like I say, Sylvaneth will probably come in handy because they're going to want to be in trees. And then you got the Gloom Spike, obviously wanting to be by their Loon Shrine, but it does mean you got to get close to the Loon Shrine to try and do it. And D3 Mortal Wounds is not going to do much against 40 block of goblins.
No, it's not. And just when you mentioned Sylvaneth, it got me thinking again. Well, they're wildwoods that block line of sight anyway, don't they? Unless you can fly. But looking at the pitch black, even if you can fly, unless it's been an FAQ that I haven't seen, I've checked out the FAQ, so I don't believe that is the case. Even if you fly, you can't see.
Yeah, I imagine it just creates like a black void.
Yeah.
Darkness.
The answer to this logic is, and this is why I love fantasy, magic.
Yeah, everything's a brilliant answer for that.
I mean,
Magic.
sci-fi, you can say answer, science fiction, not as strong. Magic, yeah, try disproving that. So yeah. So
going through all these battle traits,
yeah. So going
it
on.
really emphasises. That's why I have. Well, I have 3 Demon Princes because I've got the named character one as well.
Bastard.
But why you want Demon Princes, and preferably more than one. You know, they've got the 5 up heal. No, they got the 5 up ignoring wounds.
Also,
they got a 4 up heal every hero phase, and then you can mess with line of sight and make terrain a little bit more dangerous for your opponents to beat around.
And let's say you're playing against an army that doesn't have much shooting, so then you're thinking, well, Nightmare, Chasm isn't that good, and now Pitch Black seems irrelevant. I'll be honest, armies that tend to not have that much shooting, unless they're like an Angels army or something, if they're a Death army, they tend to be very magic focused, and then it will turn out a lot of their spells are pick a unit or units within blah 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 range that are visible to the caster.
Yeah. So it's always pretty much mainly that are visible.
And that is something where I think we're all a bit guilty of it. Sometimes
And they can't,
raised to miss
hero
that
phase,
word
they
out.
can't move either.
What's that?
It's not like you do this and your opponent will just go, alright, I'm just going to move in range and in line of sight. Obviously, hero phase, you can't move before you do spells, so
Yeah,
you can move up, do the pitch black, and then your opponent's hero phase, if they got a heavy magic army, we're just like, I'm in range, but you can't do that Zeech bolt of lightning to me because you can't see me.
Yeah, fuck you, D3 or D6 mortal wounds.
Yeah, D6 more wins.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think it's useful, and it's not
It doesn't cost command point.
command, but it is it? No.
No.
That's cool. Yeah, so I think we talked about the battle traits for long enough, but as you can tell, me and Jamie are both enthusiastic with the Demon Princes. And just to confirm, Bellacore, he is a Demon Prince keyboard, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
He does have the Demon Prince.
he'll get that all. Cool. And Bellacore does not take rend, so like.
Yeah, if you want something even more harder to kill.
Yeah, and you know, I'll be honest, I have Bellacore now, but I'm still in the case where sometimes I don't remember how to spell it when I'm trying to text it. So Bastard is a good spell check.
Autocorrect for him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have put that as He's so good. He's not like broken good, but like he's. I had a game when I took Nagash, and Jamie took Be'lakor. He also took the rest of the 2,000 point list, but that doesn't matter. Be'lakor made Nagash not be able to do.
Made him his bitch.
Yeah, made him his bitch. Made him not be able to do 10 out of the 11 actions he tried to do that turn. And the one action he did was move 2 inches.
Very helpful. Very helpful.
2 inches to charge, and then can charge. But anyway, with that aside, we then go on to the command traits. So aspects of the Ascended, because like I've mentioned in my lore video, and like you know by now, Demon Princes, they are like, I think we talked about it, didn't we, in the Art of Gods. They are like the they have got to the end of their path to glory. Obviously, they're still trying to achieve as much as they can get, but they are like the Ascended. So they are the elite.
Yeah, they are what everyone aspires to.
Yeah.
And these command traits are only for Demon Princes.
Apart from the attitude to the general's wounds characteristic, it seems everyone gets bolstered by hate, but yes, everything else is to the aspect of the Ascended.
So Despoilers, Demon Princes, general only. Which I suppose you're going to have your Demon Prince and your general in this army in a way.
Yeah.
I know it feels a little bit restricting, but they are worth it.
It's just if I quickly go back to the sacrilegious might ability that I mentioned, where it's like, oh, if your guy is the general, then the Spoiled Demon Prince on a 5-up ignores those wounds and mortal wounds, and you think, oh, if I go for another general, is it worth losing out on that ability? You don't have the option. You're picking a Demon Prince for your general. Enough. So it stops you having to make that decision, which is cool. I just say big thing is just make sure to read underneath who can be your general, because it's also the same for the Cabalist, wasn't it? Wizards.
Yeah.
So it's worth. They have the big text command traits. Just make sure that you can be chosen.
So most of the others, you got your standard add 2 wounds.
Yep.
On a Demon Prince, more wounds, more survivability. We've already explained that he is pretty tanky and has good survivability anyway. So adding in 2 more wounds.
Yeah,
it's not bad. It's not you're not going to lose out, I don't think.
No, he's just trying to remember. Is he 8 wounds? Yeah, I think he's 8 wounds, right?
Yeah, so bumping him up to 10.
Yeah, 10 wounds, 3-up save, 5-up ward save.
He's going to be pretty good on that kind of stats.
Yeah, always attacking for. Yeah, so if you want to make him even more beefy, that's a good option. You have Lord of Terror, which I'm afraid is the coolest thing about this one. It subtracts 1 from bravery characteristics of enemy units while they're within 6 inches of this general. Like, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, I always used to be a big fan of a bravery buff, but like we've already mentioned in this video, you can do it, but it's not as
it's not optimal, is it?
No. I mean, like I said, you can put the cat in this as well, the Sphinxy thing to make a other -2, but people are just going to command point.
And when you got the next one straight away, so trap 1 from hit rolls, well, that's made with missile weapons to target your general. Which, if you're Nurgle, you're down -2.
Yep.
I suppose it might be a little bit insufficient if you can set up yourself in the pitch black. But still, if your opponent outmaneuvers you and tries to shoot your hero off, -2 to hit, if you're Nurgle anyway, but -1 is always going to be quite nice. That means a few extra shots miss.
Yeah, it makes because you're not a like trying to remember the top of my head the keywords, because you're not a monster. They're not monsters, right? Demon Princes. You'll get Lookout Sir.
Yeah,
so -3.
Potentially you could be -3 if you're Nurgle, -2 if you're standard.
Yeah, which is I can just imagine the battlefield, right? So the Demon Prince is always fighting first in the combat phase, so you want to kill it at range, but every time you try and kill it, it's just slowly dancing its way towards you. And then there's nothing.
Dancing, and he disappears into the darkness and pops out and is in your face.
Yeah, Like it's if you really want to make sure that your general, and to be honest, your general has that 18-inch aura that already makes him a target. So it's not a bad one. Especially if you want to go Nurgle. You can. I'd say if you're making the enemy -3 to hit you from shooting, if they haven't got really good rerolls and they're not doing mortal wounds, they're just not going to be able to get through. So there's that. There's the other one I like though. What is Radiance of Dark Glory? So in your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Despoiler unit holding within 18 inches of this general. Remember, there will be quite a few units holding within 18 inches to make sure they get the benefit of the Aura of Chaos ability. So what you do, if they're within 18, you roll a dice. On a 3-up, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to that unit. I like this one. I think
I'm sure I used this one in one of.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure you did use this.
And it was like 2 lots of D3 healing for. I'm sure I was running 2 Demon Princes as a bit of a tag team. And when on a 4-up, in my hero phase, they're preferably healing D3. And then if one of them maybe misses it, or they both get it, and one of them's still short, on a 3-up, you can heal another D3.
Exactly.
It keeps your general alive, because obviously he can use it on himself. Your general can be alive and kicking unless someone like one-shots him in a combat phase.
Yeah, it's just another way to be able to heal. And of course, it doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to heal himself, the Demon Prince. He can heal other things. So it's useful. You can heal your monsters up more to make sure they don't die as quickly. And the next one for number 5 is Distorting Merisma.
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it.
Yeah. You can. So what it says is you can give a terrain feature the Pitch Black and Nightmare Captain Scenery rules if the general finishes a move within 9 of it instead of 6, which is normal. I like this, but not nearly enough as some of the other ones we've mentioned.
Yeah, featuring Demon Princes are pretty quick, and I like it, like saying you get within 9 inches of a terrain feature, and you can.
Because remember that's a bubble, right?
You can hide yourself.
You can hide yourself, and that's a huge bubble, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I mean, a 9-inch bubble is pretty big.
Because then that's a. What's it? I don't want to mix up my.
But with how fast the Demon Prince can move, like I say, there's other ones I'd pick before.
Yeah, and it's not.
I feel like 6 inches is quite enough.
And you're not in Ravagers, and this isn't an artifact, so you can't take more than one. So then the next one is Paragon of Ruin. So after setup is complete, before the first battle round begins, D3 friendly Despoiler units can move up to 5 inches. This is really good, especially if you want to go for a quick chart. You know, if you want to be as alpha strike as you can, really. Or
yeah, if you know you're really going the first turn, or you know you've made a list very low drop count, this would be quite good. Because some of your units that you set up can straight away move up 5 inches, which ain't gonna be too bad if you know you got one of the battalions or something, and you kind of feel like you're gonna go first.
Yeah, it's what I like about this is some of these abilities are pick 3 units and they can move D6. And you just don't know how far that's going to be in reality, so you can't really risk it. But you know here at least one thing. So you could use it to, I don't know, if you want to, because your Demon Princes are quite survivable. If you want to try and turn 1 charge them in to just bugger up the enemies, hold them in their deployment zone while the rest of your army move up. Could be something. There's better examples you could use it for, but it's I think it's good. You know, like, you can always guarantee 1 unit's going to move forward. If you really want Archaon to move up quicker, it's next to 5 inch to him. I like it. I would say these command traits are probably the favourite ones I've read through so far for Slaves Darkness. apart from the Lord of Terror, I think they all have quite good play.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like in the current gaming scene, bravery, it can play a part, but
Depends what army you're fighting against, right? Some armies have got more command points to spend than others, like, and some armies
yeah,
have got ways to ignore it. I don't know, like Bone Reapers, not even a. They won't even waste time talking about Battle Shock. But you know, in your local meta, if you listen to this, maybe useful to you. You maybe go, what? I play against armies that would, really struggle when you're minus in their bravery. Fantastic. Go that way. Maybe listen to this in the future where it's very hard to stop troops running. So it could be useful then. But for currently, for where we are, it's I think the problem here is it's got very big competition. Like for me, my favourite is Radiance of the Dark Glory. So that is going to be the one where you heal things on a free up. That's my favourite. That or the Paragon of Ruin, depending on what I was going for. If I was going for the I think Ruin Bringers Battalion, maybe we'll get to that in that video, and I definitely won't forget the name. But essentially, the Slaves Darkness Battalion, where it's all about just taking cavalry and chariots and stuff. I could see the Paragon of Ruin being a useful command trait.
oh yeah, definitely. And I'm sure there's something with the Warcry Warband, the tribal people, that they can actually move up as well.
Yep, it's the Untamed Beast, right?
That they can actually move up at the beginning of the game, so they can preferably just straight away bump on an objective.
Yeah, that's it as well. It's not just all about alpha striking. You can use it to take objectives. You can use it to put your weak things on those objectives. So then, like, after that was complete before the first battle, so you don't even need to be going first here. Let's say you're going second in the battle round, but before your opponent has taken their first turn, you have just put your weak stuff on the objectives. That means you won't claim the objective that turn, obviously, but you're forcing your opponent to send their tougher units to kill your weak stuff, and then you can just, after you've dealt with that trade, you've smashed their tougher units out of the way because you brought out your elite units. You see what I mean? Like, you're bringing up your weak stuff, and then the enemy's going to have to deal with that with their elite stuff, and then because their elite stuff are already there right in front of you, you just send your elite stuff in your turn and wipe them out.
It is a good play.
It's like a game of trades.
You got some. Get onto the artifacts. You got some cool artifacts coming up as well.
Yeah, so Artifacts of Power, Infernal Treasures. So spoiler heroes only, so this is a lot more flexible who can take these. So do you want to take us through the first one then, Jamie?
The Crown of Hellish Adoration. So trap 1 from wound rolls, what attacks made with missile weapons that target the bearer while they are within 3 inches of any friendly Despoiler units with at least 3 models. So we already said that Demon Princes can be hard to shoot. You can make them even more harder to shoot if you want. So you can have you can make an enemy -3 to hit your Demon Prince, and then if they do get any through, they're -1 as well. It's very good that you can put this on a Manticore, because obviously he's going to be bigger, easier to see. It's a nice way to try and make sure he don't get shot off the board.
It is.
You do got to be sure that obviously he's running up with something with 3 models and is as quick as what he is.
I just think I would need to play this out, because at the moment I'm not a big fan, just because you need of any Despoiler units. Also, I was reading it wrong. I thought it was if the enemy's within. Okay, I've read that completely wrong. Ignore me. I was reading it for some reason as the enemy unit that's shooting has to be within 3 of your units that both have 3 models. I don't know why I thought of that. No, that's that's a lot better. Yeah, that's a lot better than the cracked up reason I came up with. Well, long. I'm gonna use the excuse. Long video. So yeah, that's better. It's if you want to, be on a manticore, fucking be there, shaking your ass off, going, you can't hit me. It's a real good way for the enemies to go, right, I've only got one shooting attack and it needs to hit on a 6, and they get the 6 and they go, needs to wound on a 4, and they go, oh, 3, that's a shame. So yeah, it's quite cool. Yeah, so that's right. If you get, obviously you're not going against shooty stuff, it's not worth it. But number yeah, it's just like, unless you really like to go like, I have the Crown of Hellish Ordinator, Odoration. Actually, don't do it. I can't pronounce the word. Right, so number 2, we have Helm of Many Eyes. So the bearer and their mount, if they have one, fight at the start of the combat phase if they charge in the same turn, but cannot fight again in that phase unless an ability or spell allows them to fight more than once, i.e. the Chaos Lord on foot making them fight twice. So the Helm of Many Eyes, I'm a fan of. Me and Jamie have spoken about a idea about taking it in the Slaves Darkness Khorne battalion to actually make that battalion useful. And I think it's a great way in your Despoiler army where you'll be taking hopefully multiple Demon Princes and they'll be attacking first. It's just another unit that attacks first. So let's say you have 3 Demon Princes in this army. Let's say they all attack first in the hero phase. This guy charged. Let's say he's on a Manticore. Then he's attacking. So that's already 4 things you're attacking with first. And then it's your turn to pick something to attack. So you've attacked with 5 things before the enemy has.
It's useful. Obviously, if your only heroes that you're planning on taking on Demon Princes, you don't need it.
Oh yeah, don't give this to a Demon Prince.
Because they can already fight first. But anything else, if you wanted to fight first, you do need to get the charge. But it's definitely useful.
If you're, for example, if you want to go with Slanesh marks and stuff, if you're in range of the general, which is a big aura in this, I think I've actually run it with Slanesh because the aura was great. 18-inch range, reroll charges. If you're holding
Yeah,
18
that does make it
general.
easier getting the charges off.
Yeah, without spending command points.
But then I do like the next one, the Armoured or Tortured Souls.
Lovely name.
Worsen the rend characteristic of attacks that target the bearer by 1. So all those -1 rend, you still got your 3-up save if you're a Demon Prince. Still having a decent 4-up save if you're Chaos Lord on Manticore. Even the Chaos Sorcerer Lord with 4-up save, you can give him this, that's to give him some nice survivability so he can get his spells off.
Yeah, like, that's really good.
And featuring so much stuff has rend.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much stuff out there has rend. Obviously, as more army books come out, I see rend happening more and more, and so only get stronger in the future probably. And also, you've got quite a few ways in this list to make your guys pretty survivable. You've got, obviously, if you want to go making your Demon Prince survivable, there's loads of built-in ways to do that with the spoilers. But beyond that, you've got the Radiance of Dark Glory, like we mentioned. That's the 3-up command trait that heals D3 wounds in your hero phase. And you've got -assist to hit, if you wanted to go with Nurgle. And then you've got ways to take away enemy rend. So there's just loads of things you can do. So you make your guys pretty defensible.
Yeah, and they can be really solid combat tanks.
Yeah, especially like the Manticore as an example. You've got a Chaos Lord, Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore, and just a normal Chaos Sorcerer Lord anyway on foot. They have the like Oracle Vision, which you pick one of your friendly Slaves Darkness units and they get to reroll failed save rolls. I believe that's what it is, right?
Yeah, which is just solid.
So let's say the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore hasn't got anyone to put it on, so he puts it on himself, but there's enemies shooting about. So he's got that on himself. So he's got a 4-up re-rolling, and now the enemy who were shooting them with -1 rend have no longer got that rend.
Yeah,
Makes so much more survivable.
It's just an all-round. You don't get mileage out of it.
Yeah, I like that. So then the number 4, we've got diabolic even mantle. So at the start of the first battle round, if the bearer is on the battlefield, you receive D3 command points. So that's obviously if you're not set up off the battlefield, or you've had a really rough.
Damn, forgot your model.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you can't. It's not before your first. Yeah, so yeah, don't forget your models. D3 extra command points, always a good thing. Like, this is quite a, like, what I would call a chuck away artifact. You know, you do it first and it never comes into it again unless it has a counter ability later in the game where enemies, I don't know, get a bonus hit or something if they're near you because you've got an artifact. But
If you feel like you like using all the generic command abilities or the Slaves of Darkness command abilities, then this could be obviously very useful.
Yeah.
D3, obviously it's random. You might be unlucky and have 1. You might be great and have 3.
yeah, it's like the Paragon of Ruin where it was D3 units that can move at the start of the game. This is D3 as well, so you know you can't rely on it, but you can say you'll get obviously at least 1, and at least 1 is 50 points. So that's pretty good, especially in an army where if you're taking the Chaos Lord on foot, he can make things attack twice, can't he, in the combat phase, which is a pretty good ability. But you might not always have the command points to do it. So I like that one. I think it's good.
Yeah, I do agree. And then the next one, I don't know, I was just thinking about it. I kind of have mixed feelings. So it's the Doombringer Blade.
What's the lore? Because we read the lore for the other blade that involves the genie. I want to know this one.
So when this cruel blade is pointed at a hated foe, searing visions pain the bearer's minions until the target has been slain. So he kind of like hypnotizes all your soldiers into feeling pain until the person you pointed at die. I kind of imagine the White King lifting up his spear that's pointing out in Game of Thrones. You, at the start of the battle round, after setup is complete, but before the first turn begins, so before the game begins, you can pick 1 enemy hero or enemy monster on the battlefield. If you do so, friendly Despoilers unit can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks that target that unit. So you're only picking 1, but you are rerolling all hits and all wounds.
I like that. Obviously,
which I like.
Depends.
But as a lot of, some of these abilities, it depends on who you're fighting against. If you're fighting against Terror guys, Ghoul King, Nagash.
Oh, it'd be horrible if you're fighting against one of those big giants that's coming out, isn't it? Like, that's a.
But if you get to pick one and get to re-roll everything against it,
which is
that's good.
Huge. Like if you use Nagash. Nagash isn't in a very good spot at the moment because he's too expensive in points. But if you were to take him, that's half of someone's army.
Yeah.
And it's not just for combat, from what I can see. So you can use it for shooting. I know you don't have much shooting, but even Marauder Horsemen.
Yeah, I had a good old soul grinder, had some shooting.
Yeah, exactly. So that is useful. I like it.
I just feel like, though, obviously depending on your area or whatnot, you're going to go up against an army that has no big monsters, no real big heroes, and you got to pick some kind of little 5 wound wizard. It's just going to do, they're not going to really be in the battle.
I would say, on average, every army has 1 centerpiece big model. Now, obviously, every army, to be competitive as it can be, doesn't need to take 1 big monster, and to be honest, probably is worse off for it. But most people, most hobbyists, like to have at least one big thing in their army. Same as you like to have one big model, which happens to be a monster because it looks cool. So you even see it at tournaments. People will try and make their army as competitive as they can, but they'll have a monster in there. It could be a good monster or a not so good monster, but you see it.
It makes it easier to kill it. And obviously, with the Gods of Ruin hero table, your hero might have a better luck at killing it.
Yeah, I would. Obviously, you can say
It's something I would consider.
Yeah, it's something you consider. And so I'd say, like, if you're going to a tournament, and that's like a good example because it's one of those, you don't know what armies you're fighting. Apart from a rough idea of what to expect at a tournament, you don't know what armies you're fighting. If you're doing 5 games at a tournament, unless the meta massively changes, guarantee at least one of them is going to have a load of monsters in it. So, yeah, it will have use. And then number 6 is Realm Warper Twist Ruin. So, friendly Despoiler units, wholly within 12 inches of the bearer, are unaffected by the Pitch Black and Nightmare Chasm rules. Already kind of bored with this one, but I can see how it can be useful.
The only thing I really see it really effective would be if you've got more of the javelins.
Yeah. Unless you have spells, for example, that are like units that are visible and crap.
But then that's the thing, the Pitch Black rule doesn't affect monsters. So if you're looking at your Manticore, he's a monster, he's unaffected by it.
So it's just the Chaos Lord on foot there, isn't it? Sorcerer Lord.
Yeah, so there's a little Sorcerer Lord on foot. It's a so-so. I wouldn't. I'd rather have something else.
Yeah. I think, and again, this is why I like the spoilers, because there's a lot of good choice in the artifacts and command traits. And with that, so command traits, I think we both agreed, didn't we? Radiance of Dark Glory is our favourite. Some close seconds, but that was our favourite. Would we agree?
Yeah, I think a free up healing is just going to be nice, and you get to pick. So your Demon Prince General can heal up. Your Chaos Knights, your War Shrine. Like, he can pick anyone within wholly within 18 inches of him.
It's a big. I can easily see things they could have done here to have not nerfed, because it doesn't need to be nerfed, but just to make things basically a bit shit, like Games Workshop sometimes do. We go like, pick a friendly unit within 6 inches, and it's like, like I can see things they could have done, or like the Doombringer Blade, where you can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls against that monster hero. I could have easily have seen them made that hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. So
Yeah.
So like, I think it's turned out quite well. So the command traits, Radiance of Dark Glory. If it's one of those ones like, if you could have a second one, which you can't, but like if you were to give a second one a go, Paragon of Ruin is my one, to see just what you can play around with the extra movement. So I say the Untamed Beasts, if they're moving an extra, pardon me, a D6 anyway, roughly.
I've got it looked up. They can move 6.
Is it 6 we're thinking they can move?
So at 6 they can move. So then after 5,
so 11.
they can go 11.
11 before the game's begun. And obviously your Untamed Beasts, I don't mean moving that fast so they can charge the enemy, because God knows you don't want to do that. But to be a pain or to block enemy movement, like it's a fair distance. I'm not saying like it's solid, but it's worth a try. If I could play games at the moment, and I'm sure Jamie could play games at the moment, would like to try this out. So that's there are choice for the command traits. Was there another one you wanted to mention, or you can't? I mean, obviously adding 2 to wound characteristic is nice as well and stuff. But
yeah, I do like the idea of my Demon Prince having 10 wounds. Yeah.
And I think lightning reflexes, stretching 1 from the hit rolls, missile weapons. I think, like I said, that's good. But I think on average, if you're kind of worried about enemy shooting, make your guy Nurgle. Like, we say like -3 to hit from shooting is great.
And like I said, the thing is, obviously, he's not a monster, so he can benefit from the lookout. So
Exactly, which half the time is enough in its own. So then with the artifacts, my favourite is going to be the Diabolic Mantle. That's one. Diabolic Mantle and Armour of Tortured Souls I like.
yeah, I must say on that one, I'm completely with you on that one.
And the
D3 command points, when you get into the unit, the heroes later on, command points are always useful. And then ignoring rent is always going to come up.
I'll change my mind. I like it. It's good. The Armour of Tortured Souls, and I love the name. Like it's so much character. But I like the D3 extra command points. I think that's just always good. I like the Helm of Many Eyes, because if I'm running stuff Slaanesh, I've got a very good chance of guaranteeing my charges. So I like the idea of fighting first.
Yeah, that's what they're going with your list building, isn't it?
That's going list building. If you weren't looking at taking any of the Pacific gods, like if you weren't thinking about taking Slaanesh to do the reroll charge, just generically the Armour of Tortured Souls I'd go with. Just because you'll be so annoyed, Helm of Many Eyes, if you take that and let's say you're not getting rerolls to charge, and the enemy charges you, and the enemy charges you with -3 rend. You'd rather have take away one of the minus red. So yeah, that's our thoughts on that one. I think we've reviewed the Despoilers for longer than any of the other ones, maybe so far, but of the other sub-legions bits. But it's my favourite one, because like I say, I love Demon Princes, and this just really helps them. So I love talking about the Despoilers. I'm sure you're kind of similar. I know you like Ravagers, but the Despoilers is a nice one as well.
They're very good all round.
Yeah, they're good. So then the next one is,
which probably should be the last one. Should probably be the mightiest one.
Yeah,
because it is the host of the Everchosen,
and it is only as mighty as your bank account and your painting skills. I think this one is basically we'll review it properly. But do you want to paint up
straight away? But straight away, battle traits: the Iron Fist or the Everchosen. Pretty strong battle traits.
Yeah.
Exalted Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse. And no, it's not Donald Trump.
It's not Donald Trump.
You got Archaon. It's funny. This first sentence just makes me laugh. If Archaon is your general, and on the battlefield, friendly hosts of the Everchosen units are unaffected by the units are affected by your Aura of Chaos ability if they are held within 18 inches of them. I like that first word there. If Archaon. If you've got Archaon and you're running this, he is your general. There is no if.
Yeah.
Archaon is your general.
Not the Demon Prince where you go, oh, you're going to miss out on a command trait and the other thing. This is more important. Even though it doesn't really directly affect you, this is more important. It does when we go into the command bit. But, yeah, it's just, could you imagine, like, I don't know, Archaon accidentally caused some damage in the office, so he's been demoted for a little while, and you've got like Jack the Sorcerer Lord who's in charge of the army for a few days until Archaon can be again.
Put the intern in charge.
Yeah, put the intern in charge, and he'll just go, do you mind, can you move over to the front to fight against the enemy? And then Archaon's just there going, you telling me to do something, bitch? And it's just, no, you do what you want. I'll yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Archaon is the general of this army. So
then it's the straight to the next one of fearless in his presence. Do not take battle shots tests for friendly hosts of the Everchosen units if Archaon is your general and on the battlefield. So obviously he's still got to be alive, but again, it's funny that it says if Archaon is your general. If you're picking this, Archaon is your general.
Yeah, you'll see there is every single ability here
is
Starts with
if.
if Archaon is your general. It's almost like they heard the Grand Host in Nagash, where Nagash can be in this, but he has to be your general. That's the only way you can take Nagash and Legions and Nagash. He has to be the general. And then people are like, oh, I don't. It just sort of forced me into it in games where it's like, okay, no worries, we'll chuck an if in front of it. But the best thing about Fearless in his presence is I will read the short lore for it, which is, none dare flee under Archaon's gaze, for his warriors fear him more than the blades or spells of any foe. Which I can kind of agree.
Yeah, you don't want to be getting eaten by his demon sword
He,
or
rem-
Dolga.
he reminds me of the kind of boss who will, if you disobey him or you run away, he will independently, even if it's not worth his time, he'll independently seek you out to give you a bottlekin. So yeah, don't piss him off. And then the next one we have is to break it down. Do not take Battle Shock. That's good. Like we said, Battle Shock is not as it's important, but people don't fail Battle Shock as much as they used to. And this is just another example of it.
Yeah, and having an 18-inch aura, thinking he's on a big base, he is giving off a massive, massive aura.
He really is, and he's got the biggest circular base in the game currently. That's made from Games Workshop. And the other thing to say about the Fearless in his presence, it's kind of an other reason not to go for Undivided. You know, for your Aura of Chaos ability.
Yeah, so if you're running Archaon, you're immune to Battle Shock. You don't need to be messing with trying to get yourself immune through being undivided.
Yeah, and let's say something does run away because he is not in range of Archaon and he flees to Battle Shock. Just naturally say in your head that instead of him running away, Archaon actually just killed him for his cowardness. And then the Will of the Everchosen. In your hero phase, if Archaon is your general and on the battlefield, you can pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. If you do so, you can reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly hosts of the Everchosen units that target that unit until your next hero phase.
I like this because you can kind of just plan yourself of what you want to hit harder with, or hit harder against, shall I say.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to line up a good charge with Archaon, you just point it out and you're rerunning those annoying ones that come up when you want to kill someone with the Slayer of Kings.
Yeah, which is infuriating. And it reminded me of that Despoiler artifact we looked at, where you picked that hero monster. I know that was all failed hit and wound, but this is just so much better because it allows you to, you're going to include by Gits, pick that big block of 60 grots that isn't run away to Battle Shock, just helps you chew through it quicker. So you're not,
And you get to change it every hero phase.
yeah, which is often, I imagine that's something you'll quite want to do. Like if you're managing to tear through things quite quickly, once we're hero phase is fine. It'll probably take you a couple of battle rounds to kill something sometimes.
Yeah, the last ability is the one where it seems like it's quite a game changer.
What, the command
The
ability?
Dark Prophecy. Yeah, the command ability is the Dark Prophecy. So this is Archaon's command ability. You can use this ability at the start of your hero phase if Archaon is your general and on the battlefield. You reduce our rolled dice and keep the result hidden from your opponent. At the start of the next battle round, before players determine who has the first turn, you can reveal the result. On a 1 to 3, your opponent must take the first turn of that battle round. On a 4 to 6, you take the first turn of the battle round. So you know who's going to go.
And you may be thinking like, oh, but once you roll a 1 to 3, then your opponent, that's crap because your opponent's taking them. Well, like many people have said before, knowledge is power, and being able to set up, knowing the outcome of next priority, it's already been decided, is huge. The other part of this is your opponent knows that you know, so you can try and trick them by thinking that they've won priority by keeping things a little bit in reserve, things that you can afford to, and then they go, oh, he's keeping things in reserve in defence. I must have the next turn. And then what you've done is you've done a mind game and you've tricked them, and actually you've got the next turn. So they've sent everything forward. And yeah,
it's great mind games. This.
Yeah, they're great. Now, what has been FAQ, just in case anyone is asking this, what happens if you go against another host of the Everchosen army and they do the same command ability? Then you roll for priority. It's as simple as that. And you might go like, that's pointless. Only if you both do the command ability. If your opponent does the command ability and you haven't, then they still get to do the ability. So you're going to have to spend a command point to try and stop them. So there still is play to it.
That is funny.
Yeah, it's good. So one thing we've learned from the battle trait is make RKO on your general, or play another sub-allegiance. Really, if you do not own RKO and you do not intend to, this is not the sub-allegiance for you. And the next thing we're going to talk about is if you do not own any Vanguard, or you do not intend to ever own any Vanguard, this is not the sub-allegiance for you.
Yeah, if you don't have no Vanguard, then you don't need to listen to this bit.
Yeah, if you don't own 8 circles worth of Vanguard, it's not for you. On the alternative side, if you love Archaon and his Vanguard, and you think they'll make an awesome army, and you have the ambition to buy and paint that army, this is the sub-allegiance for you. So there you go. So what we have here is a little, if you can see on the screen now and you can read it, it's not your typical command traits, artifacts. Archaon is probably your generals. They thought ahead of that, get rid of the command traits. They also decided
and get rid of the artifacts, because apparently no one else in your army is good enough to have an artifact.
No, it's just really to kind of convince you to not make anyone other to be the general.
So you have one hero in this army.
Yeah.
It's Archaon.
So what you would do, just so you're aware, and I know they have got weaker, but just take an artifact from the realms, because there's no point just not taking an artifact. You have one artifact to choose from, unless you've got a battalion. Then obviously take multiple from the realm. Or no, you wouldn't actually, because you can only pick one realm you're from, can't you? So pick one, choose wisely. But what you get instead is basically ways to improve your Vanguard, which is cool, because Vanguard are awesome models. As me and Jamie have said before, too nice, too much detail, but really cool. Too much gold trim. So, right, let us start with this one. So what do you get? It's called the 8 Circles of the Vanguard. So Archaon charges each of his would-be champions with 8 trials in the ultimate test of their mettle. Those skilled enough to triumph are placed into one of the infamous 8 circles of the Vanguard. So there's the lore behind it. They get split up depending on their skills. So the first circle. Okay, no, we'll read how it works quickly. So after you have given the host of the Everchosen keyword to your army, you must choose one of the keywords from the list below. All Vanguard units in your army gain that keyword, either the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, or the 8th circle. So, the first circle, the Swords of Chaos. So, at the start of the first battle round, after determining who has the first turn, you can remove any friendly first circle units from the battlefield and set them up again. Any restrictions in the setup instructions for the battle plan being used still. What are your thoughts?
Still apply.
Yes, still
apply.
Sorry, yeah.
Outline still apply. Unless your opponent has kind of outplayed you in setup, I don't like it.
It's one of those where it's all about, again, it's a bit of a mind game, because you can make your opponent feel like he doesn't actually know where your units are going to go.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mind game, but other than that, I just feel like you're still restricted to the battle plan.
Yeah.
So some of the battle plans are really tight in
Yeah.
deployment anyway.
Yeah, the territory can be. Yeah, the deployment part of the territory. Um, yeah, fair enough. And when we'll, and also after when you just move these models, that's it. It's done. Um, so it's especially if you go against a one drop list or something.
Yeah, you're going to be kind of null and void because they're going to drop down anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, moving on.
Moving on to the second circle. Hopefully they get better with each circle. You're gonna love this one. I'll let you do it.
The
I can already
Souls of
tell.
Torment. Subtract one from the bravery capture of enemy units while they are within 6 inches of a friendly second circle unit. In addition, if an enemy unit fails a battleship test within 6 inches of a friendly second circle unit, add D3 number of models. If it didn't have the D3, it'll just be boring. Adding D3 is a little bit better, but still, like we were saying, the bravery bombs are featuring you're not really taking any other heroes, or not many, with Arcan. I know he's up and down 2, so maybe you can work something with that. But
Yeah.
it's still, again, I think you're kind of hoping on the play there. It can be quite good, obviously, against some of the elite stuff. Playing Deepkin, my Deepkin Eels only have bravery 6. So -1 from here, and then Arcan can move me 2 down. Can really affect how many eels run away. And obviously some do run away, and then D3 more run away. So it's got its positive and negatives, but I feel like it's still very situational.
Yeah, it's
I think there's more exciting circles. Like,
yeah.
moving on to the third one.
I
The
think I
third
think
one for me is a bit more
everything what we've
mileage.
talked about the Battleshock phase so far just explains why I'm not enthusiastic about it. Obviously, like I say, if that changes, if it's quite easy to fail Battleshock in the future, great. I just think for me, when I've done a Battleshock, I've either just passed it or I've just lost so much it wouldn't make a difference. So yeah, the third circle. So the Scions of Darkness. So subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target third circle units. That's good. Go with Nurgle
Yeah,
as well, like we
I
say.
was thinking if you're a Nurgle player, this fits into them with the shooting.
Yeah, and like I think we've already mentioned this quickly, but just to say, like, Archaon is a named character, but he still does get the Aura of Chaos ability, just so everyone's aware, so he would benefit from Nurgle. So he would make that range very big with the 18 inches. So
It's quite a straightforward one. There's nothing else added to it,
no, it's
which maybe makes it a little bit lackluster, but
easy to remember.
it is an easy to remember one.
And then
And then fourth one,
Yep.
the Reavers of Chaos. In your hero phase, you can pick one terrain feature within 3 inches of a friendly fourth circle. Each enemy unit within 3 inches of that terrain suffers D3 mortal wounds. Kind of like the Pitch Black and Nightmare Chasm ability from the Demon Princes from the Despoilers. It's okay. You got to be within 3 inches of it. It's not amazing. D3 mortal wounds might help do a little bit of damage to an elite unit and make you have the model advantage, because obviously in this army you're going to have a slight model count disadvantage. So any extra wounds around terrain is going to help. But I'll go on to the fifth one. Fifth circle.
Yeah. So yeah, My thoughts are the same with that one. So going on to the fifth one, you can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by fifth circle units if the target is a hero or monster. So this kind of brings us back to that artifact from the Despoilers, isn't it? Where it's like, it's good, but depending on what you're fighting. What I would say is most lists in 2,000 points have at least 4 heroes in them, so that's like 4 units you are re-rolling.
This so far, out of all of them so far, is one I've been more drawn to, a bit more usage. Obviously, Archaon has got the ability of just picking someone and you get a reroll
Yeah, that's the
hits and wounds of 1 though. So this makes it that you can pick 2 things, technically. Not so much pick 2 things, but Archaon can pick something and then you can still just, you don't need to worry about heroes and monsters and picking them, you can pick units.
Yeah, like,
but I feel like most people are going to go on to this next one.
Yeah, I think
because obviously killing heroes and monsters is fine, but the Blaze of Desolation add 1 to damage inflicted by attacks made with mini weapons by the 6th circle units that have charged. And if anyone knows Vanguard, they are deadly on the charge.
They're deadly on the charge.
And attack a lot.
Yeah. If you get, I'd give them the spears, the lances, whatever they're going to be called, the glaives for the charge. And
well,
then
going with this, I'll actually disagree and go with just attacks, man. Give me more attacks. Because add 1 damage, I want a lot of attacks.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, you maximise it the most with that. I'm just...
You're thinking about the rend.
I'm thinking about the rend, and I'm thinking about most of the armies I fight have very good saves. So that's what I'm thinking. The other thing is that I think Vanguard still have the ability where once per game they can attack twice in one combat phase.
I believe they do.
Yeah, so like they charge in. So this is how I would do it, just because I like the rend and I like the high damage, to be honest. I'm a very simple child. So they charge in, they get the bonus charge with the lance, and then they get the bonus from this, the extra damage, and then they're doing that twice. And then you have the Chaos Lord on foot next to them, who makes them attack again. So, you know. And I'm planning on just having 1 big unit of 12 Vanguard for this.
I do think if you're playing a host of the Everchosen, you've got to optimise that damage.
Yeah, exactly. No, it is good. Vanguard, they move 10? I'll just have a quick look.
Yeah, they're not rapid.
Yeah, they're not like, it's just, it's wondering how guaranteed are you to get your charges in, really.
Well, obviously
10.
you'll be playing Slanesh, so...
Yeah, but moving 10 and re-rolling a charge, if you can't run in charge.
Yeah, running charge is always good.
I mean, you always use Marauder Horsemen to screen them. But anyway, so yes, we like that one. And then on to the 7th circle. At the end of the combat phase, so it's called the Banes of Suns, just to get that out there. So at the end of the combat phase, if any attacks made by friendly 7th circle units in the phase destroyed any enemy units, heal up to D3 wounds allocated to that 7th circle unit. So when it all says unit this and unit that, obviously... no.
Yeah, you got to one-shot a unit.
Yeah, it's only...
Or not so much one-shot, you got to kill a unit.
I was quickly checking to see if Archaon's part of this, but he's not. So yeah, it's just... You've got a one-shot a unit, and it's also just...
If it was kill model, I would probably take it. Because obviously you want your Vanguard to stay alive. Because you've not got many models. You need them to stay alive. And if they killed something in that combat phase, killed a model, they heal D3, that'd be great. But this is like, like you was kind of thinking, you got to kill a unit. It's going to be hard to kill that 40-man Grot unit to heal D3.
It is, but also you're only healing one one model on that unit. Obviously how you allocate damage, don't you, to just one model, and it's like
And I've only got 5 wounds.
yeah. I'm not a massive. I wouldn't take it. If I was playing against a Khorne player, yes, because I know he would want as many blood type as possible, so he would give me all his blood reavers. But no, it's not for me. However, I quite like the Ape Circle, the Nameless Circle. They basically they got bored and couldn't be bothered to come up with a name. I want to. What's the law?
The rule is very short and very sweet.
Yeah,
you can fly.
Yeah, you can fly. Archaon alone knows the true nature of the Ape Circle, and the only evidence to mark their passing is broken corpses of their foes.
So saying that, passing in the broken corpses of their foes, you're kind of thinking, okay, they're going to have... To be fair, this is a cool ability, but you're still thinking, oh man, they're going to have some impact charge, they're going to have something that really breaks the enemy on the charge or something. You can fly.
Believe you can fly.
Which
I like flying, but I also know that these bases are very big, so they're going to be hard to move around.
flying is great, definitely. 10-inch with a 10-inch move, it's not amazing, but still you can go over screens, which is probably the main thing. Is getting over those screens, because you want their impact, their charge to be as devastating as possible. But still, for the host of the Everchosen, me, there's only one circle, and there's the Sip Circle, and then 1/2 damage on the charge.
You're going to make the Nurgle as well, aren't you?
Which so if people saying you get those 6s and extra damage, oh yeah.
And Archaon's making them re-roll ones to wound if you pick the right thing. Now, that's a good choice. What I'd say, Jamie, the wise man's choice that would be the wise man. My choice, arguably not as wise as that man who once chose that. I would go for the Ape Circle, because as a true fan of Khorne, I'm going to go for his number. You say you're loyal. What a fucking lie that is. But the reason I go for the Ape Circle, Jamie, is because we all know they can fly. And we all know the great artwork Games Workshop have done that I have in my room of Archaon descending from the clouds with his army of Arangard from the sky. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
And you always wonder, reason why you can't sleep at night is because how do they fly? Well, now we have an answer. And that...
Well, the answer is only Archaon knows.
It's a step in the right direction. But I can make them fly in the game. So I like the Ape Circle. I generally like making things fly. I think fly is such a big thing. The only concern using it in here is just because the bases are quite big. But I'm used to moving around crit flares. Well, bases aren't particularly small anyway. They're not. We can't all run around with eels, can we? So I think I like the 6th circle, or I like the 5th circle. I would be tempted to try the 5th circle, because even if you just re-roll and hit some wounds on support characters, it's massive. Because bear in mind, if you're taking purely Vanguard in this list, which you will be doing, your Vanguard has to do a lot of work. They can't just be the brutal charge that goes forward. They need to be flanking. They need to do a lot of stuff. So
they need to do it. Yeah, they need to do it all.
Anything. To be fair, there's links into the 6th circle as well, because they want to, whatever they charge, unless it's like a big nasty thing. If they're charging something that's mediocre, they want to kill it that turn. So charging like, I don't know, a 7 wound hero, they want to kill it that turn.
Yeah, they want to be destroying everything straight away. You got to hit hard and fast with the army. And obviously fly does help. And then the sip settle hitting harder really helps. But for those for me, I did definitely two options. I wish the 8th circle with fly maybe give you a little bit of extra movement, but that's me being greedy and wanting more.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was a 9th circle that involved all the above rules. Yeah, that's kind of wishing so much. I mean, I almost wish there was an ability that I could roll dice and like on a free up, I always got to fight first, but here we are. So that is actually the last part of the sub-allegiances we're doing today. Is that right?
Last part, yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was a pause there, and I thought you would go, no, there's another one. I was like, it's there. I think the video's gone long enough. Now, if you're watching this, there are like other sub-allegiances you can take, like we mentioned earlier, and there are the Everchosen. However, there are actually like 12 in there, and we're not doing that in this video, because it's easily 2-hour mark. I'm thinking more this video so far. And it's got quite late for both of us, but I'm glad we've managed to do it in the one recording. I think it's gone well. But those were off the Everchosen sub-allegiance, so just wanted to mention that people do look at them as, are they the Slaves of Darkness? They're not just Slaves of Darkness, though. They are like, one of them's literally just for demons. So don't feel like they are just for them, and don't feel like that means I need to include them in this video. But yeah, well, that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something about the Slaves of Darkness. To be honest, I'm pretty sure this is the most in-depth myself or Jamie have actually gone through each of the command traits, artifacts, everything. So would you agree you've learned something out of this? It's been quite useful to discuss it with someone as well. Like when you're list building, you're often by yourself. It's nice to get 2 points of view. I think that's been quite good. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Jamie?
and it's been a while. It's been a while since, obviously, with everything going on, been looking at the book.
Yeah, it's been especially when you've had your head out the game for a while, shall we? Like as we all have, really. It's nice to remind yourself, and particularly how, like, if I look at my desk now, I've got 5 of my Chaos Centaur / Chaos Knights. I'm painting up, and it does encourage you to paint up, because it makes you want to play those games. And like we say, we can't play them at the moment, but when we can play them, we're going to have the idea more painted models out there, all ready to go, and a better idea of how we want to build some lists. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's been good. Something I would just like to say about the allegiance abilities is that when we review the Slaves of Darkness War Scrolls themselves, some of them are like Demon Prince, prime example, very good one. But some of them will feel maybe a little bit mediocre in how they do. Just got to remember that they benefit from the Aura of Chaos pretty much all the time as well. Like, that's something to bear in mind. And I think that's why I've done such a good job in talking about it for so long.
So every hero has something decent given off. They're all going to be given off a 12-inch bubble.
Yeah, you're looking at up to 6 heroes with a 12-inch bubble. One of them might have an 18. So it's very generous, I would say. I think particularly being a death player here, I'm so used to making sure things are wholly within 12 and stuff for death saves that, like, when you get in the habit of that, 12 inches isn't that small. And particularly in these units where, again, unless you go with lots of marauders and stuff, your units aren't really that big. Unless you have like 10 Chaos Knights in a line or something. They're not, it's not that hard to get them within 12. And even if you have 10 Chaos Knights, you just take a Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount with them, you just put them in the middle, in front or behind them, depending on what you need to do, and then it will cover the range. But yeah, so like I say, guys, with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't already. That massively helps the channel. Make sure you click the notification button so you don't miss any videos. Particularly how this is just, apart from the lore video I did, this is the first video upon the updated Slaves of Darkness Long Army series, where we'll be going pretty much as in depth in this as we will with the other parts of review of this army. So, like I say, hopefully be the most sort of like in-depth review on YouTube is what I try to do with these army series. So make sure you check the other videos out when they get uploaded. And you got any questions, anything like that, please leave them down below in the comments as well, as it would be great to chat to you about your ideas of the army. Like we say, me and Jamie we're no way, experts on this army and stuff, but it's an army that we thoroughly enjoy, so it's something that we can all benefit from by hearing lots of people's points of views. So feel free to do that. And I'd like to shout out to my patrons who, like I mentioned, all my other videos, they're the reason I can continue to make videos, and they are the reason why this channel can keep going. So a massive shout out to them. If anyone would like to become a patron to support the channel, there will be a link in the description down below. Don't feel like you have to, but if you just want to check it out, I'd massively appreciate that. But if not, like I say, just give it a subscribe and a like, absolutely free, and really helps out the channel. So before I end off, I want to say thank you very much to Jamie for joining me in this. It's been a long video. I appreciate it. It takes a lot of time to review everything properly, but it's been very good to have your thoughts on this video, Jamie.
You're welcome. It's been good fun being able to talk some good old Warhammer.
Yeah, I think we all need that in our lives every so often, don't we? We all need like a 2 to 3 hour discussion on Warhammer in an evening. But it's I believe it's good for the soul. It's good. So guys, until next time, remember to stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask for Christ's sake, and of course remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.